Hello, I'm here to drop in for the live for the community Panchakarma. We got going down on the Broad Coven YouTube channel, and this is a sister channel to Broad Coven. This is where I'm going to be bringing in a lot of tantric work. I'm really excited to head in this direction and expose people in the West to what Tantra is really about, which is one of the branches of yoga. And there's many different aspects to Tantra that go beyond just working with the sensual energy to reach higher states of consciousness. Okay, there's a lot of pranayamas and asanas and different meditative techniques. So I'm really excited to bring this piece in here. But of course, when we're looking at this as a path of exploration, it also brings the piece in about the relationship we have with our bodies, the relationship we have with our sensual experience, which a sensual experience is really about the way we engage our senses. And a primary focus I have in that is helping people come to a place of peace, healing, and integration with their bodies, with their physical bodies, and understanding how our self-care and really honoring the gift of having a body is very much every part of the spiritual journey, as ohming it out on a mountaintop is. I am going to be doing a collective tarot read. I'm going through these cards right now. It's been a while since I've used this deck. It is my more whimsical deck. It's the Paulina Tarot. And I'm going to be using this to sort of form the framework of our reading. We're going to look at a path with heart. How do we find a path with heart? And I thought this was really significant to bring in for this week's focus that we got going on with the Panchakarma. If you don't know what I'm talking about, we are offering a community Panchakarma on the Broad Coven YouTube channel. There's lives that go down there twice a week. So we have a live that goes down there Wednesdays and another one that'll be coming up on Saturday. And that just supports the material we're working through. Often it'll include a reading like I'm doing with this particular live that we got going down here that has just a little bit different of a focus. I also wanted to create a safe space for those who did have eating disorder issues or food or body image issues to be able to come and drop in and get the support they need, or if they have any specialized questions. But really, I mean, these reads can serve anyone, and I will be getting into all of that. But I do just want to let those of you know who may be new here. I notice I have some new subscribers, so welcome. Wanted to let you know how you can get access to the free Ayurvedic course if you would like to follow along and be part of that experience. First of all, go on over to Broad Coven and subscribe if you haven't already. And you can find that information. If you scroll down on the homepage here, you'll see my other channels that are listed. That's where you can do the twice weekly lives. I am an Ayurvedic practitioner. I have 11 years experience in the Ayurvedic field. I have over 28 years experience working in holistic healthcare though, so I have quite an extensive background, and intuitive eating counselor is part of that picture. I was trained by Evelyn Triboli and Elise Resch, who are the originators, the founders, and the innovators of intuitive eating and wrote the best-selling book. So I got a lot of experience under my belt, and I'm using it to bring to the table to help support people who are on a journey of transformation. And certainly very close to my heart is those who are struggling with eating disorder and are looking to find the way to recovery. That's been a big part of my own personal journey, and I had a crisis with that when I was in my early 20s that I'm very lucky to have overcome. And I have a lot of recovery under my belt and know that I'm in a place in my life where I'll never go down that track again. So I'm an example that recovery is possible. And I'm also a very honest representation of that, what that looks like, and not selling any fantasy or distortion. And I talk about the real stuff when I do bring it in. So that is something that will be discussed on this channel, and certainly within the framework of this Panchakarma. But if you'd like to follow along with the course, You can find that. There's 2 courses actually. They're being married for this particular Panchakarma. And you can pick this up anytime, pretty much through anytime between now and I would say February. Okay, so this information will serve you for quite a while. Even within the first couple weeks of February, you can still apply the information in the VATA course, and it will absolutely be applicable, you know, and be a good support to you. The course is Roots with Wings. It's 6 weeks to build VATA resilience. It's VATA season, so this is what we focus on at this time of year, and that is the core focus of the Panchakarma. I bring in these lives just to offer some professional support. I am an Ayurvedic practitioner. I do have a counseling background. I have a holistic healthcare background, and so I'm helping to guide the experience. I also wrote the courses, and so I'm guiding you through the material, and I'm available to answer questions. So it's kind of cool because most of the time, if you want to get Ayurvedic healthcare, you know, it's going to cost you about minimum $100 for an hour consultation. And, you know, I'm giving away quite a bit of this just on the house and paying it forward as a seva. It's my way to give thanks to the path of Ayurveda, the way it's healed me. It was a big part of my recovery, actually. That's what actually brought me to Ayurveda, to want to become an Ayurvedic practitioner. So I'm really grateful to be able to share it with all of you, because I know it can be such an incredible benefit on multiple levels. I mean, mind, body, spirit, no matter what you're dealing with, Ayurveda is such a valuable resource. Ayurveda is the science of life, and it can really help you overcome a lot of challenges that maybe, you know, you don't ever need to see a Western medical doctor for. You know, so much can be done with prevention, and that's what makes Ayurveda very different from more traditional medical approaches. Is we don't, you know, deal with treating symptoms. We look at, why is this symptom here, and we get curious about that. We explore that, and we look at that on every stratum of being. We, of course, want to understand physically how it got there, but we understand if something's manifested physically, before it ever got to the physical, there was some other component involved. There had to be an emotional component, maybe a mental component, a stress component. There was something going on the path. It's, you know, it's all interconnected. Macrocosm is reflected in microcosm. So this is the comprehensive view, the holistic view that comes in on the path of Ayurveda. It's very helpful. It's a merging of mind, body, spirit. It's integrative medicine is what I would say. And it has incredible value. And there's a lot of really cool integrative doctors out there that have really combined Ayurvedic methods with traditional medicine. And I'm of the kind of school of thought that both have their value and both have their place, and both are worthy of respect. But they work best when they work in tandem, because there's different applications for each. Okay, but certainly when we're looking at eating disorder, the path of Ayurveda is extremely helpful on so many levels, on multiple levels. So I'm really happy to bring in this kind of support here. So there's the Roots with Wings course, okay, for VATA resilience. And that's very essential, especially when we're looking at people who deal with eating disorder issues, food body image issues. These are often people who are dealing with some level of nervous system disruption that's totally rolled over by VATA, so this can be very helpful. The second course that's available is Grace in Crisis, and that deals with using Ayurveda to create support during times of difficult transition in our lives or crisis. Both of these courses are completely free, okay? There's nothing you have to sign up for. I'm not collecting an email list. You don't need to register an account on the website. You can just simply, you know, go to the home page, scroll down, and boom, it's right there. You'll see listings for both courses with a button that says free access here. Click and you're in, okay? And I'm really excited to have you receive that. I hope you'll take advantage of it, because the courses are excellent. And they'll serve you. They'll serve you well for a lifetime, to be honest with you, okay? Because we always move with a seasonal approach with Ayurveda. So what applies now will apply next year, and the next year, and the next year after that. until, you no longer need to deal with having a physical body to care for, right? So it can serve you for a lifetime. But while we're here, let's really appreciate our bodies. Let's give back to our bodies and let's care for our bodies. All right, I got all these turned upright. It's interesting. Just happens to be that way on the bottom of the deck. Energy here, I have the death card. Okay, so we know that we're going through a time of endings. We're going through a time of closing karmic cycles right now. We know that a lot of people are kind of rocking and rolling. When I think of the death card, I also think of Scorpio's rulers, who is represented by that card, Mars and Pluto. Okay, so we are dealing with these Mars-Pluto energies very front and center. First of all, we already know that we have Libra in the South Node. We have Aries in the North Node. Aries is ruled by Mars, all right? We've had a Mars-Venus dance going on for quite a while. We're trying to figure out how to balance things out in our relationships. And we're also looking at in comparison to us as individuals. This is the piece that's really interesting about this dichotomy going on with the North Node, South Node action. Mars is very like self-ownership, Aries is a sign of individuality, the innovator. They'll often strike out alone. They are the ones who gets everything started with the zodiac wheel. So they'll take the chance. They'll be the one who makes the bold move, strikes out first to sort of set the tone on how we move forward. So it's really kind of cool that Aries is leading this charge with all the action going on with Pluto. We recently had Pluto go direct in Capricorn after being in retrograde motion. This is significant because right now we are being called to action. We're being called to doing the work, to laying the foundation for our futures. We're moving into an entirely new karmic cycle, okay? So the old one is closing up. There's a lot of people who are struggling with those closures, mainly because they don't know where they're heading. And that's making people feel very unsettled. I mean, there's a lot of wild card energy in the mix. We have Uranus in the mix. So anything can happen, but Uranus is actually in positive aspects. So that means that, yes, things are unexpected right now, but anything that looks like a reversal is actually a little divine play and has a lucky spin to it. So it's up to us to take advantage of that. There's only one way we can take advantage of that, though. We've got to take action. We can't just like rest on our laurels. We can't sit aside. We can't bury our heads in the sand. We have to look at things as they are. We have to acknowledge where things have come to a closure, and we have to be timely about closing out cycles in a way that doesn't leave any like straggling energies behind us, right? It's high stress time for sure. This week we have a Cazimi, a Mercury Cazimi that's coming in tomorrow. A Mercury Cazimi is when Mercury is conjunct the sun. And so the Mercury energies get a benefit and a boost from that solar energy, which means, we have an opportunity for like some happiness to come in, a little light to shine in where maybe things have been dark or uncertain, an opportunity to step into a more successful cycle. This can be an opportunity that comes to light, comes in out of the blue. How does it arrive? We know with Mercury energy, probably through some kind of message, some kind of information, some kind of inspiration, and this gets things moving because that's what Mercury is all about, right? So this is a positive development. It's also a wonderful time to get spiritual guidance and to sort of see a new way forward where maybe we felt like we were trying to find a path out of the wilderness, all right? So that's kind of where everybody is right now, trying to close old cycles. But the reason why that death coming up as the basis of the matter is very pertinent to what's going on with the astrology right now is that the very next day on the 21st, after we have this like little light breaking through, you may begin to feel like it's a sucker cloud. And the reason for that is on the 21st, we have Mercury square Pluto. Now, by the way, all this action is going on in Libra, all right? So we have that polarity, the Venus, the Mars dance, and all that kind of dicey territory, the places where we sort of feel at odds with ourselves or in two minds about something, where we're considering our personal needs in contrast to what do others need or what does the collective need. And so this is sort of the challenge. When we got Pluto in the mix, though, we got square action going on. This is a difficult aspect, which means our shadow can be front and center. So I feel like all this energy is very much in harmony with the work that we are doing this week with the Panchakarma. And I think it's a good time to drop in, especially for people that do deal with food or body image issues, or maybe are in a recovery from eating disorder. This can be a time that's really activating, especially at this point in the course material. We're now in our third week. So this is a time when we're really dropping in with ourselves. This is when we're creating space for ourselves. This is a time when we're engaging in self-care, giving ourselves a full day, right? Of really dropping in and giving a lot of time, care, attention, love to our bodies. This can be very difficult for people who struggle with food and body image issues. It may feel foreign. It may feel activating. It may feel awkward. It may bring up a lot of emotions. And so this is something that there should be space held around this. So I kind of wanted to talk about this in today's live for you all, just to give a little added support for anyone who is navigating this territory, who finds it hard to give their bodies love and care and compassion and attention, because it can come up. And there's a reason for that. It's like as soon as we really make contact with our bodies, we drop in with our bodies, what ends up happening is we suddenly get into that sensory experience. And this is a piece that a lot of people don't understand about eating disorder, that eating disorder, though it is something that is on a very superficial level, is exercised through the body and is evident in the physical presentation of the body, is actually something that is only engaged in when there's a complete disconnect from the physical experience, a complete disconnect from the senses. So in other words, the reason why eating disorder or body dysmorphia is present in the first place is because there's something that is going on emotionally or mentally that is so activating that it feels too big, too overwhelming. It feels like a crisis. It feels like something that's out of control, that can't be contained. And this can be a very fear-provoking feeling for those who struggle with these issues, okay? There can be a heightened sensitivity, and this heightened sensitivity can make one want to, like, sometimes you'll hear people that struggle with eating disorders say that they just want to crawl out of their skin, you know, that feeling what they feel when they sink into their body and they experience their internal experience. They just have this overwhelming urge to escape. So this is what eating disorder is about, and a lot of people don't understand it, but we're going to talk about it, like real talk here. It needs to come in because of the focus this week. It's so important. Yeah, you know, look at this bottom of the deck energy. We got the Hierophant in reverse. Now this is very interesting. This particular card, I'm going to turn it upright for you, and then I'm going to turn it back upside down just so you can understand the way this message is coming through. This card, in the way it's depicted in this deck, has a very different meaning. You know, most of the time when we look at the Hierophant, just in traditional tarot, if we're looking at like a Rider-Waite take on it, it's more about the structures in our lives. It's about the rules in our lives. It's about the authority in our lives. You know, these outside entities that dictate the shoulds and the should nots. And anytime we're looking at shoulds and should nots in the realm of eating disorder, it's very significant, because this is kind of like the whole mental overtone that rules over food and body image issues is I should do this, I should not do that. It's very much black and white thinking. It's either or. There is no middle zone. There is no room for moderation, which is exactly what it takes. This moderation, being able to find the middle way that leads to recovery. It is the path with heart, you know, where head and heart come together. You know, where the intellect and the intuition merge, where you have this instinctual path that marries with passion and purpose and leads you out of those proverbial woods, okay? But it's hard to arrive at that point when you feel very activated, okay? I love this depiction in the Paulina Tarot because it speaks something very different. It speaks of sheltering, it speaks of strength, it speaks of tree medicine, the ways that trees have such an example to share about how to move through challenges in life, to be rooted, to let your roots be strong, to never lose connection with roots. In other words, never lose your connection with your community, your family, the people who give you that sense of solidity, to make sure you have those support systems in place. Support is extremely important, and that is something that comes through in the lessons this week. I think it's something that comes through in the Grace and Crisis course, which is a very significant part of this journey, especially for those of you who struggle with eating disorder issues, food or body image issues, or are going through something really heavy in your life at this time. And that's to remember to reach out to your support person this week, whatever that looks like for you. For some of you, your support person may actually be a support group, okay? Maybe you haven't looked into a support group. We brought this in on one of our last lives. It's a good idea to look into that now. If you have not done that yet, it's important, especially if you're dealing with these issues. There are free support resources out there, and you're not going to be there with people that are going to judge you. The other people that are there, they're dealing with the same stuff too, you know? There's no shame in it. And there's a way to find community. And I know it's hard to reach out for help, but if you are struggling with these issues, it's pivotal, it's key, it's essential, right? Very important. Don't try to go it alone. And that can be the tendency, if you struggle with these issues, to isolate, to feel shame about it, to want to hide your behavior, to want to hide your struggles, or to put on a brave face and pretend like everything's okay when inside you're falling apart, right? It's okay to reach out for support, but it's important that you reach out for the right kind of support, okay? Because there's support that will root you and ground you and gather around you and lift you up, okay? Elevate you. And then there's support that's not helpful and actually throws you further out of balance, makes you want to pull back your energy more, makes you want to isolate more, makes you feel judged, makes you feel ashamed, makes you feel humiliated in some cases, and drives you further into isolation and thereby subsequently further into the imbalance and the issues you're dealing with. So not everybody is a good support system. And this can even be your friends, your family members. You may love them, okay? And you may have a wonderful connection with these friends and these family members. It does not mean that they're necessarily a good support for you with the issues that you're dealing with. And it may not even be their place, and they may not even have the bandwidth for it because of the issues they're dealing with in their own life. And we can never make assumptions about who is able to show up and support us. But I will tell you, just from personal experience and from working with a lot of people with eating disorder issues and in being in support groups myself and my own challenges that I faced on my path and in my recovery process, that 9 times out of 10, in fact, 9.99 times out of 10, your friends and family will not be able to support you with these issues. You need to get in alignment with a really good therapist, and not just any therapist, a therapist that specializes in eating disorder, in body image issues. It is specialized. Not every therapist is qualified to help you with this either. And you should really do your research to discover what that support system looks like for you, okay? Certainly, there's the piece of a support group, and if you're looking for a good therapist or you're looking for a support group and you do struggle with these issues, then you want to go to ANAD.org, and they have a wealth of resources available for you, okay? So this part is very important. But for those of you who are just like, you're in a murky area, it's like, well, I'm not quite in that place. I'm not in a place where I struggle with eating disorder, but I recognize that I don't have the healthiest relationship with food. And I don't have really a healthy relationship with my body either. I'm constantly going on diets. I'm at war with my body. I don't feel good about my body. I don't feel comfortable in my own skin. Okay, there's many different ways that this can develop, right? Either way, this is about really looking at your community and looking at your support systems, looking at who you're spending time with, because with this coming in out of balance like this, something needs to be looked at here. In some way, you don't have the right kind of support around you. In some way, you need to focus a little bit more on your grounding right now because you're kind of going out of your body. With this in reverse, everything's going too much up into the upper channels, up into the head. And this is where we can start to encounter trouble, okay? That's when we start to go out of balance because that's when the energy moves more into the realm of Vata, which is sort of the foundation or the basis of these issues, this disconnect from the body. There's discomfort felt in the body, or we're going through something traumatic in our lives, or we got old repressed stuff coming up, or we're just dealing with a really stressful time in our lives. We feel like things are out of control. We don't see any way out of it. We don't know what to do. So we start feeling emotionally overwhelmed. Maybe we have anxiety. Now we're starting to go up into our heads about things. Okay, now we're starting to disconnect from our body because no, I don't want to feel that. That feels too big. It feels too overwhelming. So this is the point when a lot of people will find an activation of their issues if they struggle with issues like this, whether it's clinical eating disorder or kind of a gray area where you're just like, oh, I got a little disconnect here. So this can be the very point when you're like, I'm going to go on a diet, you know, and you feel like it's something good, like, oh, I'm doing something to help myself. This will make me feel good. Yeah, maybe all this is kind of going off the rails, but you know, I need to take care of my health. Maybe that'll get my self-esteem back up. I'll start feeling better. And it's great. It's great to focus on your health, okay? It's especially if you're having challenges, or especially if you are in a place where you know, maybe you do binge eat, maybe you do emotionally eat, maybe you comfort eat, you don't listen to your body, you've gotten away from that, and maybe you do have, you know, weight on your body that is actually causing physical discomfort and does need to be addressed, okay? But it can't be addressed through a diet. It has to be addressed through really listening to your body. That will help bring things in balance. There's no need to deprive yourself or head into a place of restriction. All you need to do is really listen to your body. But if you've been in this place where you've been at war with your body, at odds with your body, and if we live in a culture that teaches that and reinforces that, if you don't look a certain way, if you aren't a certain size, if you don't fit the mold, then there's something wrong with you. And there's a reason behind that. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry, both the beauty industry and the fitness industry. And they don't profit off of you getting well. They don't profit off of you having a high sense of self-esteem. They don't. They profit off your insecurity. And so there's something here that really needs to be looked at and understood, how chasing a certain ideal can really throw you out of balance and make you lose your footing, make you lose your grounding. Much better to go the slow and steady route. Much better to learn what is your body's happy place, okay? And so I want you to really focus on that this week as you dive in deep with your body, as you're giving your body this self-care, as you're making a day of self-care, which might be really illuminating for a lot of you. Okay, you might really realize how much your body's missing this kind of attention. Maybe you're always focused on how you can get a size smaller, or how you can, you know, chisel your abs, or, you know, how you can be more attractive to, you know, your partner, whatever it may be. But maybe you're realizing, and maybe what will be illuminated for you when you do this one day of deep dive self-care, it's one of the focuses for this week with the Panchakarma work, is to devote one day this week to just diving in real deep, where it's just all about giving yourself care, mind, body, spirit. Luxuriating your body with some abhyanga, giving yourself a beautiful self massage, you know, maybe with a really special oil that has some very fragrant, you know, essential oils in it that just, evoke certain feeling in you, make you feel spoiled, pampered, loved up on. It can be getting a nice body souffle, just rubbing some cream on it, just giving yourself a little bit of this luxuriousness instead of so much harshness coming at the body all the time. This means letting yourself nap throughout the day if that's what you want to do, letting yourself take it easy, maybe moving your body in a way that's not so regimented, not so harsh, not so intense, but instead it's just pure pleasure, enjoyable. Maybe letting yourself have that treat that you've really been wanting and enjoying every bite of it. And in fact, making it a full-on sensory experience, just really taking your time and savoring the textures of the food and noticing the presentation and taking in the aroma of the food and noticing the mouthfeel of it and just how yummy it is and just enjoying that guilt-free with abandon. For some of you, that may be really hard. It means creating space as well. We got this piece coming in this week about grounding, shielding in the morning, and also working with inspiring emotional release with breath. Hi, Tessa. Thank you so much. I appreciate it and appreciate you being here. This piece too, so it's like as you start to dive into your body, you make contact with your body through self-care, through eating, foods that are calling you and that sound good to you and listening to what your body has to say about that. What ends up happening is you also start to notice what you're feeling emotionally. It's intimately connected. And once you understand what you're feeling emotionally, sometimes what's there, it can be activating, all right? So some of you may be going through really cathartic emotional experiences at this time in your lives. There's a lot of change rocking and rolling through people's lives. They're closing down really important karmic learning cycles. And in fact, that's really going to be tied up and brought to a closure on the 28th. We've got a full moon coming in at that time in the sign of Taurus. This has everything to do with the way we value ourselves, the way we invest our time, the way we invest our energy, and what we've learned, what we've learned through the challenges to our sense of self-worth, how we've risen up out of that, and are we really living by that? And there's some new point of framework for the future that builds off of this, where we really have to look at, now that I've been through all of these lessons, I've learned all these lessons, I've done all this work, I've learned what doesn't support me, I've learned what isn't for me, what doesn't lift me up, which keeps me in a place of this insecurity or feeling like I don't have stability in my life, or I don't have people I can count on, I can trust, I don't have commonality with these people. They're fair weather friends. They're there whenever they need something from me, but when I need some support, they're not there. This is about really analyzing what supports me, what is for me, what lifts me up, what is going to carry me forward in the future in a way where I feel empowered, okay? So the piece that comes in with the course this week about reaching out to a support person, if you're going to reach out to a friend or you're going to reach out to a family member, you might really find yourself in this place of review where you're like, who really is my support person? And you might be noticing where some things, do need to be addressed, where there are people around you that maybe aren't the most supportive, and you might need to lay some boundaries down around that, particularly if you have people around you who like to offer up support when it's not asked for, or who want to know your business or want to give you unwanted advice, okay? And this is really key. Nobody should ever just, spill their advice on you. It's always something that should be asked for before somebody offers that up. Otherwise, it can look like somebody's trying to micromanage you, trying to control you, control your decisions, that they're projecting their narrative on you. So that's not helpful. You might be dealing with some people like this, right? We see this, all right? So we know, first of all, first and foremost, y'all need to get grounded this week. It's really important. You're too much up in your head, all right? You're getting a little disconnected from the mundane, the daily nuts and bolts, the things that need tending to. This is only going to further destabilize you, especially if you're dealing with any kind of situation where something's activating you, something's stressful, you're going through some kind of difficult transition in your life, or maybe you're processing something emotionally that's difficult for you. All right, make sure you're grounded, okay? In day-to-day reality, you know, if you need to, get outside, you know, get out in nature. Nature is very grounding. Nature is very nurturing. Go and spend some time with a tree. Maybe just sit with a tree for a while. Ground out your energy. Merge your root with the roots of the tree, and like let them take that energy, that heavy energy from you, earth it, and compost it in the core of the earth and return it to you as renewable energy. Even just being outdoors, you know, getting for a walk outside, getting some fresh air, being around the elements can put you back in your element. You know, it can ground you out. It can help you get breathing room from stuff that feels too activating. It also gets the energy moving. You know, sometimes the worst thing you can do is just sit and stew on a problem or an issue. All right. It's like keeps you in your head. It doesn't allow you to feel like there's a forward progression of the energy. And you'd be surprised how big of a difference just that can make. Just getting outside, getting some fresh air, going for a walk, you know, take your problem on a walk, take your struggles on a walk, take your feelings on a walk, you know. It's very beneficial, and it's coming in as a supportive practice for you all. But there is this need. You need to make sure that this week you're reaching out for support where you do need it, okay? And be mindful of who you turn to for support. And if you do have people reaching out to you that are trying to offer you support, or they're offering you advice, you may be called to put down some boundary lines. There is this energy here too. It's not just about the support, right? It's also about the branches. And the branches here, this looks like a weeping willow, which is one of my favorite trees. Actually, I just think weeping willows are so beautiful. They're just such beautiful medicine, you know, but they give this sheltering, right? I just love the way the branches kind of come down and they provide this like this covering and this sheltering feeling. And I'm noticing the way the limbs of this tree spirit here, they're crossing over the heart, which is sort of like, but they're crossed over like this, okay? And it's interesting because the last Panchakarma that we did for Pitta season, we came up with a Kriya. A Kriya was something that was inspired, and this was one of the motions of the Kriya. After we did this kind of energy of the merging of the feminine receptive and the masculine active, symbolizing the joining together of these two elements within the self, we came to this place in front of the heart, which was like symbolic of an Ace of Cups and allowing this energy from spirit to like pour in, fill the heart. And also, in order to do that, at times we need to kind of like, we need to hold this space for ourselves, which to some people, okay, who want to always know your business or want to give their advice or have their own opinions about whatever it is you may be dealing with or going through, they may see it as you isolating. They may see it as you blocking yourself off, okay? Now, some of you, you may be doing this to a certain extent. You might be isolating, but I'm getting a real big hit here that those of you who are in this mode where maybe you've gone a bit into hermit mode, it's because some things have come to light for you, that the realization of these things, and I believe it has to do with loyalty, okay, among your friend circle. Maybe you're dealing with something socially, maybe you're dealing with a family issue. There's something that's happened here that has made you feel isolated. There's something here that's made you feel like you're not supported or like you don't belong, or in some way, shape, or form, your support system's been rocked. And it's because there hasn't been this loyalty piece here. This is what I'm getting. This is what's coming through. And so you may have pulled away from a group of people, or you may have just realized the way certain people were holding you back, holding you down, or were not respecting your boundaries that you've laid down. And so you might have pulled back like a little too much, okay? I could see that. And so you might have some of these very people that might be what's activating you right now, reaching out to you, trying to make contact with you. I just saw a bird fly by the window. So yeah, you might get a message from somebody who's actually a pretty activating person for you. And this is about you really being honest and open and being able to speak to your true needs in that situation and saying, you know what, I love you and I appreciate your concern. But right now, I'm needing a different kind of support, and this isn't feeling helpful for me. And I am actively engaged in securing the support that I do need. So I appreciate you checking in with me, looking in on me. Thank you, but no thank you. I'm going to a different person for my support, and I don't need the unwanted advice. All right. That can be, I mean, I know it's a little tricky, okay? But this is something that's important because it's really important that you have the right kind of energy pouring into you to offer you that support, all right? So pay attention to that this week as you're carving out this space to care for yourself, as you're really figuring out what kind of support you need at this time and how best to nurture yourself. And you're really going to figure this out. This is also a key piece for those who struggle with food and body image issues, is the need to understand how to really effectively meet your needs as well. Because sometimes what can develop, it's very common for there to be eating disorder issues in families where there's alcoholic bloodlines. I brought this in on a live before. There is a direct genetic correlation, in fact, in the case of eating disorder. This is something that's been researched, studied. You can look this up. You'll find all the studies on this. It's the same energy centers of the brain that are activated in those who struggle with alcoholism. And it's very common within alcoholic bloodlines. And there can be a lot of transference of behavior as well. So this is something to be mindful of too, you know. Maybe you do have food and body image issues. Okay, now you're working with this Panchakarma. You started holding space for this. You're getting support for your food and body image issues. You're in a recovery process now that you're working on this. Other issues are cropping up. Okay, that can happen. Transference happens. Okay. There's something that's coming through here. It's around communication. There's something that you're needing to communicate here. And I feel like you need a sounding board. That's what I got. Like you need somebody you can talk to, and somebody you can talk to that you can really trust, that your heart feels safe with. So some of you haven't taken this step yet this week. And, you know, we're still kind of fresh into this week. We just kicked it off, all right? Do make sure that you create the space for this week, that this is part of your nurturing this week. And the work to do this week is making sure that you're opening up a conversation with somebody that you really like. You can count on this person, all right? You know, this person's going to hold what you say in confidence. You know, this person's proven themselves trustworthy. They're not going to run and tell that, you know, they're going to really hold a respectful space for you. They're a listener, a good listener, you know. They don't just listen to respond with what they have to contribute to the conversation. In fact, this person knows how to communicate well. They know how to hold that space. They just witness if that's what you want them to do, you know. They'll ask you if you'd like to hear their feedback, you know, and they'll respect if you say no, all right? It's kind of hard to find a friend who can do that, all right? If you do know a friend who can do that, that's awesome. But not everybody's going to be able to do that for you. And of course, this is somebody you have to have that agreement with ahead of time. You can't just dump on them. You have to ask them. They have to agree to this. They have to understand the parameters of it, their role in it, okay? That alone can be dynamic, and it can be a lot to put on a friend too, unless you already have that kind of relationship. And if you do have that kind of relationship with a friend or a loved one, that's beautiful, you know. And they're out there, you know. I'm fortunate enough to have a few of them myself, so I'm very grateful for those connections. And those connections are precious and they're rare, and you know that. If you got a connection like that, it's precious and it's rare. Most of the time you deal with stuff like this where it's like, I don't really know if people are for or against me, you know. It's kind of half and half. Sometimes they feel like they're really there for me, and sometimes not so much, you know, but you can't have wishy-washy, not at this stage of the game and not with what you're going through. You know, you definitely need people who know how to hold the right space. And again, for some of you, that's going to involve a support group. For some of you, that's going to involve therapy, even if you don't deal with clinical eating disorder, okay? Let's say you're just going through a hard time, you're emotionally eating, or you're going through a difficult time. You had like a breakup, something happened, you know, your person already moved on with somebody else. Now you're like picking apart your looks, you're picking apart your body, and you're having all these insecurities, okay? Therapy can help, all right? Therapy can help. A support group can help. You know, there's many different avenues to explore. It doesn't have to just be because you have clinical eating disorder, but we have to understand that even in cases of EDNOS, or I just have, you know, not the best relationship with my body, this is sort of like the root of eating disorder, okay? It's how there can be a division. And just because something isn't clinical doesn't mean it can't spiral out of control, right? And I meant to bring it in on the last live I did where I brought in Andrea. And there is a website and there's a book. It's called Andrea's Voice. It was written by her mother. I started in on the story. I went down a rabbit hole. I veered off track and we never got back to it. And I really want to bring it in right now because it's pertinent, because Andrea was a valedictorian. She got a full scholarship to go to a really, you know, prestigious university. And she had such a bright future ahead of her. She never really had any issues with eating disorder in the past, not at all. You know, I mean, she was like any typical young woman, you know, maybe had tried some diets here or there, whatever, but she wasn't somebody who had like clinical eating disorder. She was like your average, you know, what we would consider your average woman in America, okay? And she went to college, and as happens with most college students with a heavy load and that feeling of pressure and getting away from their usual environment and their community, their support, this might be speaking to some of you, okay? Maybe some of you are on this journey right now. You just started college. It's your first time away from home. You're trying to get your footing. You're trying to get your bearings, or maybe you're in a brand new community. Maybe you've moved. You know, you feel out of your element. You feel a little bit cut off. You're trying to form new community. You're finding this difficult. This could be coming in for people for this to come in. But Andrea was at, you know, this new environment, and she was dealing with the pressures and the stresses and everything that comes along with that. So many college students deal with these issues, right? When they move away from home and, you know, they're starting out their lives as an adult, as a single person, not under the rulership of their parents anymore, making their own decisions, you know, carving their own way. And those first steps, you know, you fumble a little bit, you're uncertain, you don't know everything. You get to see what it's really like in the real world. You start understanding why your parents told you, you know, stay young as long as you can. You don't really want to grow up too fast, trust, you know. Maybe you wanted to grow up really fast, and then you get in it and you're like, wow, I wish I could be a kid again without a care in the world, right? The pressure is real, okay? The pressure is real. And Andrea felt that pressure. And so she started noticing that she had this real isolated behavior. Okay, she had it happen one time. She went through something. She was feeling really stressed out, really pressurized, and she kind of like binged out. Okay, she went and she had a binge. She did some emotional eating, and then she purged. She made herself throw up. And she felt like some kind of strange like relief. I mean, it's not strange if you struggle with these issues, you understand, okay? Because it feels like, okay, I got all of that unrest up and out of me. When you're doing it, you think it's about the food. You're like, oh, I binged, I ate too much food, therefore I needed to get rid of it. Now I feel better because now my stomach's empty again. That's what you tell yourself, but that's not what it's really about. What it's really about is I had this overwhelming feeling in my body. It was giving me horrible anxiety. I didn't want to deal with it, so I cut it off by numbing it out and pushing it down by binging out on food. And then I felt sick from eating the food because, well, it didn't really resolve the issue that was already there in the first place. I just covered it up. And so then I made myself throw up to get rid of it. Oh, now I feel better. You feel better because you had this like a release. And now there's a bird squawking outside, you know? Yeah, you had this release. You didn't have the energy. Oh, that's interesting. I just heard I know why the caged bird sings. Okay, that message coming through very strongly. All right. A lot of you are dealing with old trauma, you know, and it's trauma that keeps you kind of tied up in knots and stuff that keeps everything bound really tightly inside of you. And you need this stuff to come up and out, but you need it to come up and out through really just going into the center of what you're afraid of. And that is to look at what you're really feeling and to hold that space around your emotions. And please, if you feel like you need therapeutic support for that, get therapeutic support. But it might not look like that for all of you, okay? It's going to be different, varying degrees for you guys, okay? For some of you, you just need to let yourself have a good cry. Let yourself fall apart. Stop trying to keep it all together. You don't always have to be strong, but you do need to know who it's safe to allow that guard to come down with, okay? So Andrea had this experience. I don't want to get lost from Andrea's story again, all right? There's a piece here too. There's a piece, the way this wants to keep kind of like escaping the focus. I feel like this is what you're dealing with. You know that there's something going on here, like there's something you're engaging in. It's not quite healthy. It's not quite good for you. And you keep going back to it, but you don't want to look at that. Or there's something that you know isn't working in your life or emotionally. It really needs to be addressed, but you don't want to look at that. You know there's something that you need to end. You know there's a tower that needs to fall. You know that something needs to be cut off, or there needs to be a firm boundary line drawn. You don't want to look at that, and you're really being asked to look at it right now. It needs to be looked at. It's important. So Andrea had this one isolated incident, or so she thought, but what ended up happening is it started forming a pattern. Now, it wasn't really a severe pattern. It's not even something that she was engaged in on a weekly basis. But she started noticing that every time that something would happen where she felt really stressed out or very activated emotionally, what she would do is she would go and have a binge, okay? And then she would purge. And she felt like a sense of relief after that. So after this went on for her for a number of months, she started going, maybe I got a problem here. Because soon she noticed it went from being an isolated incident to now it was like, ooh, I'm doing this like twice a month. This is happening. Now, some people might look at that. And certainly in the medical community, unfortunately, because of the criteria around eating disorder, they look at that and they go, well, clinically, that's not eating disorder. It doesn't meet the criteria. In order for it to be eating disorder, you will have had to have been doing this like at least 3-4 times a week. If you were doing it 4 times a week, well, then you can get medical coverage. Then insurance will handle this, and we can hook you up with a therapist. We can hook you up with a medical team, and we can get you on the right track. We can get you into a recovery program. We can get you the support you need. If it's EDNOS, which is eating disorder not otherwise specified, which is what most chronic dieters have, I have to tell you, if you are somebody who's a chronic dieter, you're always watching what you're eating, you're always like focused on how you're exercising, you're micromanaging your food, you're constantly counting calories, you're weighing and measuring your food, you're doing this stuff all the time, you are a chronic dieter, and it is a form of EDNOS. Why? It's not a natural, biologically driven way of eating. It's hyper-regimented. It's hyper-controlled. It involves restriction, and it doesn't work, ultimately. And we know this. It doesn't work. People will swear up and down, people who are devotees to it, they'll say, oh, but it does work. I lose weight. Yes, and then you're always back at it again. because it doesn't work. And why doesn't it work? Because you're trying to morph your biology to work against itself. And that's just never going to happen. Fight or flight response will always come in. Nervous system activation will always come in. If you deny your body the essential nutrients it needs, at some point, your nervous system is going to kick in and say, we got a crisis on our hands here. Your hormones will do what they need to do to address such a crisis. They will send out the alarm, and the next thing you know, your body will go into storage mode. And a lot of times at this point, what do people do? Oh, now I need to eat less calories. Now I need to exercise more. So they drive their body into further states of crisis, okay? It's like a hamster running on a wheel, man. And it's a vicious cycle. It's a vicious circle. Finally, you can't handle it anymore, right? Chronic dieters know this. They can't handle it anymore, or they hit their goal. They drop all their weight. What do? They go back to doing what they were doing before. Only they can't anymore because they've trained their body to exist on starvation, and that is how they are able to stay fit. Fit. I use that term loosely. That's not healthy, okay? So chronic dieters are an example of EDNOS, eating disorder not otherwise specified, as are people who are extreme clean eaters. I can't eat it if it has this ingredient in it. I can never, ever, ever, ever have even a bite of something that's processed. That's another form of hyper control around eating. It's not that whole foods aren't desirable. It's not that eating foods that are close to the earth aren't desirable. Of course it is. You know, of course it is. Of course it makes sense to eat nutrient-dense food, but it's also okay if sometimes you have something that's processed. I mean, most of us were raised on this food. Our bodies have acclimated to it to a certain extent. If you're able to not have that, and you have the financial means or just the desire, the time, the energy, the inclination, you name it, and you're able to eat foods that are whole all the time, and you don't ever have to turn to processed food and you don't desire them, cool. That's awesome. And if it's not stressing you out, cool. Awesome. Then that's not you. You're not out of balance with it. But if you're a person who's like so like hyper concerned about this, that every time you go out to eat, you're giving the waiter, you know, a list a mile long of what can or can't be in your food. And if you're like constantly stressed out when you're invited to a dinner party because you don't know what's going to be on the menu, if you're going to be able to eat, I mean, it's a whole other ball of wax, right? Okay. So nobody can say that that's not a suffering. Just because it's not clinical doesn't mean that it's healthy. Doesn't mean that it's not, you know, in a state of balance. Doesn't mean that it's not an issue that needs to be addressed before it spirals out of control and becomes something far worse. You know, especially if you have the proclivity for it. Especially if you come from an alcoholic bloodline, that means that you could have the genes, that it could be a problem for you down the road, right? Or maybe you have a history of eating disorder in your family, okay? Or mental issues in your family, right? And, you know, you find yourself in this kind of relationship with food and your body. And so far, it hasn't spiraled out of control. But if you don't start looking at this stuff and understand what's really driving you and start addressing matters in a new way, it could, okay? So Andrea started noticing that the behavior was picking up, and for her, picking up meant that it was happening twice a month, okay? So twice a month, Andrea was having a binge, and then she was making herself purge. And it was consistent. It had become a habit. Andrea was not, you know, wealthy. Andrea was going to college on a scholarship. Andrea needed to rely on the support she had available to her through what the university provided. Okay, so Andrea went to see a counselor and talked to this counselor and said, I'm having some problems, you know. I'm stressed out. I've gone through a breakup, you know, emotionally, I'm having a hard time here. And I've noticed I'm engaging in this behavior. It's happening twice a month. I've been doing this for a number of months. I'm starting to think I have a problem and I need some help. So they said, okay, well, let's send you over to, you know, the medical team here at the school, because they had their own, you know, you can get medical resources through the university as well. These are often resources that are available, but it's all based on the structure of what is covered and what is not, and what is clinical and what is not. And that's the way that stuff works. It's the way our system is set up, whether you get support or not. So she went, and they asked her, you know, how many times is this happening? And as soon as she said, well, twice a month, they kind of just said, well, you know, stop doing that. And yeah, maybe, you know, make some friends, maybe make a little time to join some kind of social group or what, you know, basically. They didn't address the issue, and they didn't take it as being relevant because it wasn't clinical. Her behavior was not happening frequently enough. And because her behavior was not happening frequently enough, it didn't qualify her for coverage to get the support she needed, not therapeutically and not medically. Okay. What ended up happening is Andrea ended up dying of heart failure. Yep. It's serious. And she didn't have clinical. Okay. So if you're somebody who's in this murky place where you're like, well, but I'm not like full on eating disorder. And yeah, you know, sometimes I do this, sometimes I binge, and well, every once in a while, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Especially with purging is very dangerous. It's really dangerous. Your electrolytes get thrown off enough. It's dangerous. It can lead to heart failure. And so Andrea's mom has a website, Andrea's Voice, and also wrote a book that is about Andrea's experience and raising awareness around how we can't ignore food and body image issues. We can't just look at it from a clinical angle and that clinical criteria, because anytime somebody starts struggling with these things, it's a need to get some support. It's a need to get some help. All right. That was a big download that came in just on the opener here, but it's important. Okay. You all need some support, and you also need to walk away from what I feel is there's something you're needing to bring an end to. It feels like it's something that's happening either in a friendship circle or where you usually go for support or camaraderie. There's something that's happening here that's disruptive, and you're meant to look for a new kind of quality of community, a new kind of quality of support. If you hope to like build a bridge over troubled waters and get to the other side of this. And what you're looking for is a path with heart. And I want to talk about this. This is really significant. And I got a beautiful white light oracle that I'm going to bring in here, but I do want to like dive in on this reading, okay? When we're looking at a path with heart, this is a concept that came forward in Carlos Castaneda's series, where he talked about his journey forward on the Yaqui way of knowledge. And he talked about, you know, he was talking to Don Juan, his teacher, and his teacher was telling him that the most important thing in life is to always ask the question, does this path have heart? Anytime you're considering how you want to move forward, does this path have heart? This is something that should be at the forefront. And so I think this is what you're really being asked to look at this stage of your life. And moving through this week's material, just in relation to the Panchakarma, anytime you are having an experience with your body, all right, when you're eating your food or when you're refraining from eating, if you're having challenges with this, okay, when you're giving yourself self-care, or when you're finding it challenging to give yourself that self-care, that day of pampering and dropping in with your body, or when you're finding it challenging to drop in and do the grounding and the shielding and maybe the breath work in the morning, or whether you do, okay? I want you to use this as a point of reference. Just ask yourself very acutely, let it be like a constant meditation for you this week as you're making choices in the physical care of your body, as you're making choices about how you invest your time and energy, as you take a closer look at your connections, your relationships, your support groups, your experiences on social media. Ask yourself, does this path have heart? In other words, does me spending time with this, engaging in this, bringing this in, working on this level, does this have heart? Does it feel right? And just because something does feel right doesn't necessarily mean that it will feel good, okay? Or that it doesn't involve some aspect of anxiety to it. Now, that may sound very counterintuitive, what I'm saying right there, but it's the truth. I'll give an example to this, okay? If you have body dysmorphia, and if you have issues with really dropping into your body, you can be there doing breath work, coming into your body and having an emotional release where you're finally releasing something that you really stuffed down a long time ago. And that might not feel very good in the moment. And yet at the same time, it's landing you in your heart. It's what you need to set your heart free so you can really heal. So that would be a path of heart, even though there may be some discomfort involved. Now, remember, if you've got food or body image issues, this is an important piece. Like 99.99% of recovery involves holding space for the discomfort, holding space for what's not comfortable. So you may be going through something right now. You obviously, with the Eight of Cups coming up and with the Death card forming the basis of the Matter Collective, you are dealing with something where you're being emotionally activated right now. You are being called to walk away from something. It's not easy for you to walk away from this thing. You've invested a lot of your time, your care, your energy, your love into this thing, and you're being asked to head in a new direction because you know that this is as far as it goes in this direction. And you have one choice. You can either stagnate or you can grow. That choice alone, okay, can be a path of heart. To choose to grow is the path of heart, right? To choose to stagnate is fear, and fear is the antithesis of love, all right? So to follow a path with heart means you're following the love, all right? You're letting love light the way forward for you. Love is not just romantic. Love is about what puts you in that center of yourself where you're like, yes, there's belonging here. Yes, there's resonance here. I feel at home here. I feel held here. This feels like it's for me. This fills me up. This makes me feel connected. That's the path of heart. Stagnation's the complete opposite of that, all right? But to head in a new direction is scary sometimes, right? You don't know what's up ahead. You can feel something's guiding you to head in that direction, and still there can be discomfort in it, even though it's something you know you need to do. You know you need to let this thing go. It's not easy to let something go, even when it's something that's holding you down, holding you back, because there's a lot of attachment there. All right. So anytime you're releasing attachments, it's difficult. And that's one thing coming into your body is going to help you realize, you know, it's going to help you realize where you have attachments, because now you're going to get into your physical experience. You're really going to understand the intricacy of your emotions and the way emotions that you haven't been willing to look at, things you've suppressed, the way they're actually running the show. It'll make it very clear to you why you keep having the same kind of experiences. You're always having the same kind of relationship, even though it's a different person. You know, the same kind of inability to sort of like move forward on your path to find success in your life, you know? Why you keep finding yourself on the lower end of that wheel of fortune with it rolling right over you. Why you constantly feel like you're putting out fires or you're on the karmic cleanup crew, okay? Or why you keep dealing with people who aren't honest with you or who aren't loyal. There's a reason, right? And a lot of it has to do with stuff that's running the show within you that you've like cast in the shadow. You didn't want to look at it. And so since you didn't look at it, it sits there, it festers, it's unhealed. And it drives the narrative of your life. And you have to keep recreating the experience over and over again. So you have this pain because the pain is there to wake you up. The pain is there to tell you, hey, pay attention. You need to look at this. That's why it's uncomfortable. There's something you need to look at. So this is the disconnect that can happen when you have food and body image issues. You've learned that, oh, when I feel uncomfortable, I'm supposed to hit the eject button. Nope, we're not going to feel this. We're not going to look at this. We're going to go and have a binge, or we're going to start micromanaging our food. We're going to take up a new exercise program. We're going to like exercise ourselves into the ground, and we're going to look really good. We're going to get in shape, and then I'll mean something. You know, my life will mean something. Then I'll be worthy. Then I'll have the love. It never works like that. It never works like that. Everybody knows it doesn't work like that. It doesn't. You can get the perfect body. You can fit the ideal. And if you aren't correct in here, if you're not correct here in your heart, it's still going to feel all messed up. You're going to have the same pain. You're going to have the same issues. It don't matter. All right. So this is about going beyond that. You can't fix it with a Band-Aid, you know. You can't slap a Band-Aid on a gaping wound and expect to stop the bleeding out. It doesn't work like that, you know. And it may seem strange for me to be going off, you know, what may seem I'm going off the rails with this discussion on this for something about self-care. Like, wait a minute, we're talking about pampering. We're talking about giving ourselves love, care, attention. But if you have food and body image issues, you know, it's a lot dicier than that. It's uncomfortable to hold that space. It's uncomfortable to give yourself that care, that time, that attention. You may bump up against a whole bunch of other stuff, a whole bunch of codependent issues. No, but I got to take care of these people. It's selfish of me to take this time for myself. Or you may have people guilt trip you and put this on you, okay? But you are going through something here. You got some kind of pain in your heart, right, with the Three of Swords. And there's something that you're releasing right now. There's something you're letting go. A lot of you are walking away from a relationship. You're walking away from a connection. You're walking away from a friendship. There's something that's ending in your life. It's very emotional. You feel a lot of hurt around this. You feel a lot of grief. Some of you experienced a great loss. For some of you, maybe you had somebody that you were very close to pass away. Okay. You've experienced an actual death in your life. This person was kind of like, that's for somebody there. I'll look at that in just a minute. This person was, you know, your foundation. They were your source of strength. You've been reeling ever since. For that person, yeah, this is a Queen of Wands energy coming in. Okay, fire sign energy, Aries, Leo, Sagittarius. You know, it may be very hard to step into this independent energy. All right. Maybe you were always used to having this person by your side, you know. But I'm getting this familiar energy with cat there. You know, I don't know. It might be good to, might even be good to connect with a familiar, you know, for some of you that are dealing with this, where you suddenly find yourself living alone and you're feeling very lonely and you're needing just some kind of comfort or some kind of connection. You might want to consider like adopting a cat, adopting a pet. I like cats for people that maybe are feeling already overwhelmed. And the reason why I say cats as opposed to dogs is dogs require a lot of care, a lot of attention, a lot of focus, right? But cats are a more independent energy. they need care, don't get me wrong about that, but cats like to kind of do their own thing. They're sort of self-regulating. You know, you can have an indoor, outdoor cat and they do their own thing. They don't require the kind of like management, time and energy that like a dog does or some other kinds of pets do require. Do you need to go outside? Ted needs to go outside to go potty. One moment. Interesting. Just as I let Ted out, there was a cardinal out there. So whoever is dealing with this, that, you know, I don't know, maybe you lived with this person and they passed away. You've been struggling with this. You feel really lonely. It feels lonely in the house. That's heavy, man. I'm picking up somebody's specific, somebody's energy. So I need to bring this in because this is coming in right now. There's a little bit of mediumship coming in right now. The cardinal came in. So this is a message from, it's a message from your loved one. You were a caregiver to this person. I don't know if they had home hospice. I feel like you really were there for them during their last days. You were very present, like hands-on care. You really took this upon yourself. This may have been a family member that you were caring for. I'm picking up mother energy. I think this is around your mother, someone who lost a mother. There's some piece here. You might want to get a cat. You know, I don't know. Was your mom really fond of cats? Some of you may have lost a cat as well. This piece coming in. You can form really deep connections with our animals as well. So I do feel this piece coming in, but primarily I'm picking up a mother that passed on. She's guiding you to get a cat, to go and adopt a cat, to adopt, specifically adopt. There's something about this. I don't know if there's an adoption connection there, and that's why that's coming in. This is very specific. This is for somebody specific, somebody who's going to receive this. So I just want to bring this in. But I think this message speaks to everybody in general. You know, if you're going through a time of loss, if you're going through a time of deep grief, it may sound counterintuitive, but sometimes it can be really helpful to go out and be helpful. I know that sounds strange, but it's true. There's something about sometimes when we use that energy to go out and be of service or to give in an area where maybe we feel like we've lacked, you know, where we haven't received what we needed, to give that to another, it can be extremely healing. And what I mean by that is like adopting a cat. Adopting a cat could be an example of that. You know, here's this cat's been abandoned. Maybe you feel abandoned in your life, you know, maybe you feel cast aside. You go and adopt a cat, you take this cat in, it gives you companionship, right? And it gives you something to pour your love into, but it gives back, like it loves back on you. There's connectedness there, right? And that ultimately can be very healing, not just for the cat that you're giving another chance at life with, but for you too, right? This can also look like going out to a soup kitchen, you know, and spending the day feeding people, you know. You can find community in that sense. That's another way to form community. It's another way to feel a sense of belonging, to understand that I'm not alone in my struggles. Like lots of people need help in the world, you know. And sometimes when you feel at a loss, when you give, it really helps, you know. But to give in such a way that helps you really connect in a meaningful way. It gives you a sense of purpose, all right? And this is very important, okay, with moving forward, especially if you're in a period in your life where you're starting a new cycle and you feel shaky about that. And you're having a closure of an old cycle. You're letting things go. You're letting a relationship go. You're letting friendships go. You're letting a way of life go. You're entering recovery. You're starting to really focus on healing. This can be kind of an awkward phase. It can feel uncomfortable. It can feel uncomfortable to really step into that independent energy and to focus on yourself and your needs and what you need to do to move forward. But there's something here about building community in this way that can be really supportive for you. Taking action, can make a big difference. Taking steps to form community can make a difference. Taking steps to put yourself out there can make a big difference in your life, okay? That coming in very strongly, all right? So, there's a need for you to kind of reclaim your fire when we're looking at the Queen of Wands. And when I look at fire, fire is, yes, it's the ability to take action, but it's also that spirit of determination, ambition, enthusiasm. It is putting yourself out there. It's also bringing your voice forward. It's like letting your contribution be seen. So there's something about, you need some purpose, you need some passion to guide you forward. And that's what the path of heart is all about. Now, there's this very interesting book that I read once. It's one of the best books I ever read in relation to eating disorder recovery. I wish I could remember the name of it. It might have been The Path of Reclaiming. I'll have to research it. I hope I can remember the name of the book and then I can hunt it down because it was so valuable. I used to have it all on my old laptop, but I don't have my old laptop here with me. This book was written by a psychologist who had done work exclusively with those who struggled with eating disorder. And, he worked with all the conventional approaches. He tried everything in, helping people overcome their issues. Those who know anything about eating disorder know that there's a really high mortality rate, meaning that most people don't recover, okay? You're often the exception to the rule than the norm, all right? If you do make it through an eating disorder crisis, it's very serious. It can take you out like that really fast. So if you are struggling with these issues, again, I just have to bring it in. You need to get yourself support and beyond this, okay? It needs to be beyond dropping in for a live. You need like real tangible support, practical support, and not just from a friend, from a professional. And if you are, in the gray area, like Andrea was, hello, we can see it can still be very dangerous, right? So if you're struggling, you need to get yourself support, even if you begin with a support group, or maybe you take the risk this week to just sort of like take that step to be vulnerable with somebody that you really do trust, who can hold the quality of space and say, I got a confession to make. I'm struggling with an issue and I don't know what to do about it. And I'm having a hard time. Just being willing to show yourself in that way, that vulnerability, that moves you out of isolation, okay? Because then you're not in this space of keeping something to yourself out of shame, all right? Shame, secrecy, these are the two things that can be your undoing if you're struggling with something that you really need support for. It can play a role in any kind of recovery process, not just eating disorder, or any kind of process where you feel like you're spiraling out of control and you need some help. Or maybe it's just your grief feels overwhelming. For those who happen to tune into this and you're like, I'm fine with food and body image issues, but I wanted to drop in on this live anyway, okay? Then this could be a piece of, let's say you're going through a grieving process and you feel like really overwhelmed, or you're going through a difficult transition in your life or some kind of crisis in your life, and you're just like, in this moment, it feels like too much. This can be an important piece, to just open up to somebody that you can really trust. But there's clearly some separating from the wheat and the chaff that needs to be done in your current support structure you have in place, because with the way that Hierophant came in reverse, there's something outside of yourself that you've given way too much authority over your life. And with the community being upside down like that, it makes me feel like there's something that's going on around you. It may be within your family, it may be within your friendship circle, it could be within a group of people, it could be at work, okay? But somewhere you're not feeling supported within that framework. Something is turning you upside down. Something has got you distracted and you're caught up in it, and it's a bit of drama. And so this pulling your energy back this week, and maybe the piece of pulling yourself back from social media, even for this week, as you drop in and give your body a lot of self-care and love and just time and attention, and get in touch with your emotions and let yourself have this space to just do some emotional release work, come back into yourself. It can be so helpful in making this crystal clear for you, the way that, yeah, it is time for certain things to go. There are certain things, there's connections, there's activities, there's habits, there's things that you're engaged in that are not supporting you and are actually contributing to this feeling of instability that you're having in your life. And you won't understand what those things are until you really drop in this week. So give yourself this opportunity and notice how it feels. Like, how does it feel when you take time for yourself? Do you feel guilty? Does it stress you out? Is it uncomfortable for you to give yourself a day of self-care and pampering? Is it uncomfortable to allow yourself to have something pleasurable to eat, like to go out and sit in a restaurant and just order a piece of cake and a cup of coffee and enjoy that experience? Is that hard for you? What comes up for you? All right. There's something you're going to realize by taking these actions with the Knight of Swords. And what it's going to make very clear for you is where you need to cut certain things off. And with the Two of the Wands on the bottom of the deck here, it's about really like understanding you can't like sit in this closed off space anymore, and you can't like not look at this stuff anymore. You have to look at it. And if you look at it and you acknowledge this truth with the Ace of Swords, you can move out of this position where you feel so blocked and like the world's against you and you can't see a way forward because everything is blocking your path. A lot of this is because you're allowing this outside stuff to block your path. Once you really get what's running the show within you, the way you're sabotaging yourself because you give this too much authority, whatever's going on in your social circle, whatever's going on online, it's superfluous. It doesn't have anything to do with you, really. You blocking out this time and energy for yourself, to give to yourself, to drop in to what you're feeling, to working with the shielding, okay? Working with the grounding, the shielding, the breath work. This is going to create space for yourself that kind of rises you above all this trauma, everything that's been activating you, drawing your attention in. And then you're going to find your balance. Then you can finally like stop blocking yourself in this way, and you can get a new view forward. It's going to make it clear to you, okay, what's been robbing you of the time, the care, the attention that you really should devote to where you want to see growth in your life. You're allowing yourself to be burdened by all this. See all this, the Seven of Wands. This is other people's opinions, what other people think you should do. This is their choices for your life. This is all this coming at you. And you need to rise above it, because what you're not going to be able to see until you do this and create this space for yourself to get in touch with where's your heart at? What do you want to do? What's your truth? What feels right for you? Until you give yourself this care, this time, this attention, and you get yourself some unbiased support. Somebody who really can hold quality space for you. Maybe you need that. Maybe you need a sounding board. Someone that won't judge you and will just listen and hold that space so you can kind of get it out. It's important you connect with that, okay? Because once you have this space created for yourself, you're going to understand how much you've taken on that's weighing you down, and it's keeping you from what wants to grow in your life. And look, bunny rabbit here, it's all fear that you hold this on. A lot of you are codependent. A lot of you are taking on responsibility that's not yours to carry. A lot of you are doing more work than is your fair share. A lot of you are being burdened by other people's opinions, their judgments, their BS. And you're just like Sisyphus. You're pushing this boulder up the hill, but why? It's only leading you to heartache. And it's only causing what you want to grow in your life to completely stagnate. You're never going to be satisfied here. It's the same trip every time. Okay. The bunny is giving you a key. Okay. Rabbit medicine. Rabbit medicine is very interesting. Okay. As a totem, it's multi-layered and it depends on tradition as well. So pretty much in Native American indigenous mythos around rabbit medicine, there's this piece of trickster can come in some tribes. It's not that way across the board, but in some tribes, it's like silly rabbit, tricks are for kids. You know, it's like that. The rabbit sort of is a bit like coyote medicine. It's almost transferable in some tribes, right? Coyote medicine is that energy. All you have to do is think about the road runner and Wile E. Coyote, okay? It's that thing. It's like Wile E. Coyote is always chasing the nemesis, right? Always trying to bring the nemesis down, the road runner. I'm going to get him someday, okay? And has all these plots and these schemes and these plans and, oh, I'm going to try this. This is going to work for sure. But the road runner is always, you know, miles ahead, can anticipate what's coming that way. And meanwhile, Wile E. Coyote just keeps doing himself in over and over and over again. And yet he just keeps doing the same thing and expects to get a different result. And he doesn't. He ends up in the same spot every time. That's like rabbit medicine, okay? It's coyote medicine, but it's rabbit medicine in some traditions, in some native traditions, okay? The way we trick ourselves. Rabbit medicine is also about fear. It's about the way that we call our fears to ourselves when we worry about something too much, okay? And so again, this is another piece that can come in when you have food or body image issues. You feel the anxiety, you feel the worry, so it creates this atmosphere within yourself where you want to get away from that feeling. You don't want to feel that. So you go up into your head, you start rationalizing things, you start going into hyper control mode, or some of you, you go into caretaker mode. Well, let me take care of this person. Sure, I'll take on that for you. Yeah, I'll do that too. And in a way, it's something you do to kind of distract yourself from what you're feeling in your own life. By focusing on what other people are feeling, by focusing on other people's problems, it allows you to get some separation from the mess going on in your own life that you need to clear up, okay? So there's something here because there is something that is ailing in your life. There's something that's needing your care. It's needing your attention. For a lot of you, it's your health. I got that. Coming in really strongly for a lot of you, it's actually your physical health needs attention. And not in the way you think. Not in the way you think. It's not by going on a diet, okay? It's not by going to the gym and, you know, doing grueling workouts. That's not what's coming in. You are stressed. You're stressed. You're stressed. You're emotionally overwhelmed. You're burdened. You're not dealing with your emotions. You're trying to numb everything out. You may be dealing with some kind of addiction issues, or you may be like kind of engaging in some other kind of activity that's just like taking up all your time and energy, and it's keeping you in this space where your health is just suffering more and more and more and more. Some of you are wasting so much time on social media. It's working against you. Your health is suffering because of it. Your mental health is suffering because of it. Because of the programming, the algorithm, all this stuff you're taking in, it puts you in a negative mental space. There's a lot of drama going on there. Emotionally, you're suffering because you're living in virtual reality. You're not getting out and about in the world. You're not forming real face-to-face connections. There's this distance. It's real easy to connect with somebody online because there's this separation here. There's this screen. It's different when you're face to face with somebody and you're looking into their eyes and you're having a real communication and they're right there. It's different. It's different. It's different. And some of you are isolating yourselves in this way. And then you're wondering, how come my relationships are suffering? Why isn't this working? Well, because you're disconnected. Okay, so killing too much time online can be another means for disconnection, separation. It's another form of stagnation. You're being asked, in order to transform things, you got to get moving with the 8 of Wands, all right? Look at this. You move with the 8 of Wands, you start to get in motion. Look what's happening. You got 6 of Pentacles, and this is a beautiful 6 of Pentacles. This is mutual support. This is, you get the energy moving, you take a different action, you use your fire in a constructive way. Look what happens. Now you're in this place of reciprocal flow. Okay, now you move into this place where all of life can start to pour into you too. Now you're getting somewhere. You're not stagnating anymore. So that's the purpose of this week, as you drop in and you start to tend to your own needs. Some of you, you take care of everything else around you to your detriment, and it's wearing you out. You're like taking care of everybody else. You're supporting everybody else. You're everybody's dear Abby. If they have a problem, if they're struggling with something, they come to you and you're alone. You're alone in your challenges, and you got to start drawing the line. You have to put your foot down. Okay, it's a big step in healing these issues. And then it's about understanding, what is that part of me that feels like I have to say yes to everything? What is that part of me that causes me to overextend myself? And I think what you'll uncover as you peel back layer upon layer, which is what happens when we just say, okay, I'm going to draw down a boundary line. And even if you're just practicing this for this week, I'm going to draw down my boundary lines. I'm going to go ahead and get in my own energy. I'm going to start the morning by grounding myself, centering myself, doing a little breath work, getting in touch with what I'm feeling. Maybe if I got a little extra time, I'm going to make a little extra time, a couple days this week where I'm going to really let myself go into that breath work. I'm going to really notice the feelings, the sensations in my body. I'm going to notice, is there something I need to emotionally release here, something I need to create breathing room around, and I'm going to sit with it. I'm not going to escape it. I'm going to be present with it. I'm going to have a good cry if I need to. I'm going to let myself have that emotional release, okay? I'm going to give myself a day, a full day of pampering, self-care, rest, relaxation. I'm going to totally listen to my body. I'm going to give myself whatever feels good on that day. I'm going to let it be all about me. I'm going to create this space for myself. You know, once you do this, once you allow this to happen for yourself, that's when the transformation is going to occur, because you're going to have certain things really highlighted for you about how much better it feels and how much what's been holding you in this place of stagnation, you know, when you get in your own freaking energy, it makes a big difference, okay? And you preserve this space, then you know how you need to move forward. The transformation starts to happen. Look at that butterfly energy. You get wings, it moves you forward. And now what you pour into, what you give your time and energy to, it pours back into you. This changes everything. Okay? So stress management is huge for you all. There's areas where you need to cut back what you're giving to other people so you can pour it into what's really going to fulfill you, what's going to give you purpose, what's going to give you passion. Because in that book, which I believe it was something about the path of reclaiming, or maybe it was just called Reclaiming. I want to say Reclaiming was part of it. That was written by the psychotherapist who worked with people in eating disorder recovery. He found that the only time that people truly recovered, and this was true for me as well, the only time people really recovered from these issues and got to the other side of it was when they found a passion and a purpose in their life. You could give them all the health recommendations you wanted. You could give them all the talk therapy that they need, okay? This is something else that came in, all right? Nothing will support you more in moving into the best version of yourself and your best life, living your best life and coming into balance, mind, body, spirit, than having a purpose and a sense of passion. And that is the path of heart. So that's something that you may not realize you're going to discover when you drop in, all right? When you drop in and you give yourself this opportunity to give yourself this radical self-care this week and create this space for just you this week to feel your emotions, to get in your own energy, to give yourself care, time, attention, it's going to become so clear for you where you're following a path that's just really draining you and depleting you and what needs to come to an end. You're also going to start to get clear on what you really would rather be doing. And when you start to connect with that, that's when you're going to start to build your fire. That's when you're going to get things moving. That's when you move out of this place where you're stagnant and you start to find that, wow, now my life feels different. It's not so lopsided. It's not burdensome. I'm enjoying what I'm doing because I'm doing what feels good for me. All right. And I took my energy away from all that stuff that was just distracting me or bringing me down or making me feel like I didn't have a right to follow, my own inspirations or what excited me. This is about coming into a place of inner authority. And that's what happens when you create that space for yourself. You don't realize how much all the shoulds, you should do this, you should do that, or this person says that, or this authority figure says that if I don't do this, this is going to happen. You don't realize when you just cut out all that noise, even for just a week, just tone it down, even just turning down the volume on it, even if it's just like just reducing your exposure to it for a week, how much it makes things clear and gets you centered on the right track. Even if all you can manage this week is that you give yourself that one day this week just for you. No distractions from anybody else. Nobody else's demands that you're taking on. No time spent online, on social media. Turn off your phone. Lay down your boundary lines and make it all about you. And just give yourself care. If you can treat yourself, go out and receive a massage or get your nails done or do something special like that for yourself or go to the movies by yourself. Whatever it is, whatever you want, whatever's going to make you feel good, okay? Eat really yummy food that your body wants, that sounds good to you, even if it is a piece of cake or whatever it may be you normally avoid, okay? Just give yourself this opportunity to have this full day of receiving whatever feels right to you instead of doing what you think you should do according to your head. Sink into your body and let that guide you forward. What does your intuition say? Where is the energy resonant? When you do this thing, you get excited about even thinking about doing this thing, or, it lights you up to even think of receiving this thing. Like, hey, man, I know if I was going to go and receive a massage, I'd be feeling pretty happy about that. Okay. So, it's about that. Just even if you just give yourself the one day, it's going to really reveal something to you. And I think then you're going to have a whole new view of how to get the balance struck in your life so you're actually feeling supported, And then you can move forward in an empowering way. And it's also the thing that gets things moving so you can connect with a sense of passion and purpose. And that's how you move out of the stagnation, all right? So we got some truth that you're arriving at this week. And this truth is going to make it very clear where you need to cut certain things off so you can build a bridge and get over it and start moving towards what's really going to fill your cup, and give you a sense of connection to your life. And I think the more that you move in this direction, the more that you find that your relationship with food and your body is going to come into balance. It's really true. It's not about micromanaging the food and the body stuff so much. It's actually more about the more you stop thinking about that so much and you just get into the organic experience of your body and you just notice like, oh, I really enjoy moving in this way. Maybe you go to the gym all the time and you freaking hate it. But you're like, well, but this is what I need to do if, I'm going to drop this weight, or this is what I need to do if, if I get my booty looking like this, okay? Let's say you just can't stand it though. You can't stand it. Then it's a waste of time because it's not pouring into you. It's depleting you. And it actually, if you're pushing yourself and you're doing something that's not comfortable for your body, it also can sideline you. It can work against you. It can injure you. So this piece too, it can also overtax your nervous system. It can stress your nervous system if you're overtraining. So even with this, even with the exercise, that piece coming in, that's interesting, that piece coming in, even with the exercise, yeah, move your body. What have you experimented though? Like, what sounds fun? Maybe you like to just go on walks. That's okay. Do you know how many people get in shape from going on a walk? You can totally transform your health with walking alone. It's so good. It's so good for stress reduction. It gets you outside. It gets you exposure to the most bioavailable source of vitamin D, which helps combat depression. And at this time of year, as we start to head into the darker months with seasonal affective disorder, like it can be so helpful to go out for walks. Let yourself get in some of that light. It's good for your health. It's good for your brain health, man. It is. And again, it gives you breathing room. You're struggling with something, you're stressed, take it for a walk. Don't just sit and stew. If your go-to is to start stress eating, don't do that. Switch it up. Do something different. The old way isn't working. Choose the path of growth. Oh, growth's a little uncomfortable, right? Well, look what you're already doing. Look how uncomfortable you already are. You just don't realize it. You're like, well, I'd like growth, but I don't know. It doesn't look too fun. Hey, man, okay, maybe it would be easier for you to like sit and just like watch TV and dive into a bag of chips, and you think that, well, that is stress relieving for you. No, not really. It might give you instant gratification, but it doesn't give you long-term stress management, because then you're dealing with the after effects of that, the health effects of that, and the way that's working against you. So it's not really a solution. And it doesn't resolve anything. The stress is still there. But if instead you say, well, I really feel the urge to go and just turn on the TV and dive into a bag of chips, which means I must be stressed about something. How about I bargain with myself? This is what I always tell people. How about I bargain with myself? Before I do that, I can still do that if I want to. But before I do that, I think what I'm going to do instead, just to switch it up a little bit, I'm going to go for a little walk, even if it's just a walk around the block or whatever. I'm going to take the dog for a walk, or, whatever. I'm going to walk up to the park, maybe sit for a little bit. And I'm going to focus on what's stressing me out. And I'm just going to see what happens. I don't have to come up with any answers, any solutions, but I'm just going to let this walk hold space for whatever it is I'm feeling. I'm going to get outside, and I'm going to breathe some fresh air. I'm going to get my body moving. And I'm going to just kind of take in the sights around me. You'll be surprised what happens. You may get back home and you may be like, I don't really need to sit with the chips anymore. You might be surprised what happens. Okay, so this is about, be open to doing things in a new way. Just experiment and watch and see what comes forward. All right, it'll be really beneficial for you. But again, it's all about getting the energy moving. It's about coming into your body. It's about understanding what your body's needs really are this week. Okay, your body needs nurturing. It needs care. It doesn't need you to continue to avoid what's going on in there. It doesn't need you to continue to avoid what you're feeling or to distract yourself. It needs you to pay attention, because that's really what's going to help you, and not just in terms of your health. It's going to help you mentally. It's going to help you emotionally. It's going to help you spiritually. It's going to help you connect with your passion and purpose and move you forward. It's all interconnected. Okay, anything that wants to come out here before we do a cut of the deck energy? We got a little bit more coming out here in relation to this. And then I want to bring in this white light card that came in. I've got something that fell on the floor there. It's coming out as a crossing influence. So this is something that you're not looking at that really needs to be paid attention to this week. The Emperor. Yeah, you know, the need to take charge. You know, the need to take charge. The need to make some executive decisions. The Emperor, Aries energy, all right? North Node energy. What is North Node about? Passion, purpose, destiny. You need to have passion and purpose to step into your destiny. Your destiny is the true expression that your life is meant to be. So you don't want to stay in a place of stagnancy, okay? The only way you can follow your destiny and step into all you're meant to be is you have to stop distracting yourself with stuff that doesn't matter. You know, you got to get focused in the right ways. And your destiny is your own. It's not about what somebody else says, you know. Emperor can also represent authority figures, okay? So nobody else can tell you what your destiny is. That's individual to you. It's up to you to discover who you are, what you're here to do, who you're meant to be, how you're meant to express yourself in the world. But you can only do that if you kind of silence the noise of the outside authority figures, the peanut gallery, and you get in touch with your own experience. And it's by doing that you start to really figure out what does work for you, what does feel good, what doesn't feel good. And this is where I feel like this information really helps everybody out there, the collective as a whole, because this tends to be the problem that most people are having right now. They're like, I don't know what feels right. This kind of feels right, but that doesn't feel right about it. I could go this way, or could go that way. Nobody's doing this. Nobody's making these executive decisions. That is what the Emperor does. The Emperor has a purpose. The Emperor's like, I'm building this. I'm investing in this. I'm going in this direction. I'm taking charge. I am the captain of this ship. I'm the captain now. I'm thinking of that meme. I don't know. Maybe you need to say that to some people. I'm the captain now. Do you understand what's going on? This is my ship. I'm steering its course, all right? I'm at the helm, not you. Not you. Last night it came on. I was like, oh yeah. It was like the best double shot. I was listening to a radio station out of Detroit. Oh gosh, it's hot 97.9, I want to say. I love that radio station. I could be wrong about that. It might not be the right radio station, but I want to say that's what it is. But they play the best, like, sets, the best sets where no interruption, no commercial interruption. They did this double shot the other night. Mary J. Blige, not gonna cry anymore, done enough crying. It's time to do something for me. Like that song coming in very strongly. And then right after that, it was Bobby Brown, My Prerogative. And I feel like that's kind of like what you all need right now. You're done crying. You're done crying and lying to yourself. You know there's nothing left to do but move. Why are you manning this post, man? It's time you do something for you. All right. And that's what this is really about. That's what's going to get you centered. What do you want to do? Stop worrying about what everybody else needs or what they think you should do. What do you want to do? It's time you do something for you. You've cried enough. You've cried enough. I'm going to put those two songs pinned in the comments because I think maybe you should start your day like that. That might be good. A little double shot. Mary J. Blige, Bobby Brown. Turn on the music. Get down. And get down the way you want to get down. Don't worry about it. You don't need to be, any kind of a dancer. Everybody can dance, okay? Mary J. is a perfect example of that. Mary J. gets down, the way they get down locally where she's from, People judge that. People talk about Mary's dancing. Mary dances just fine, man. Just fine. That another one of her songs, man. We'll put a triple shot down there in the comments, okay? Another great song, Just Fine. I like what I see when I'm looking at me, when I'm walking past that mirror. You know what I'm saying? That's a great song. Mary's great in general. She's always a big motivator. I love MJB. But these three songs coming in, so we'll do that. We'll put a triple shot down. All right. You need to move more into that energy. It's the spirit that needs to come in for you, and you need to take charge in your life. Okay, it's time to take charge in your life. Start thinking about your needs and what you want to build for yourself. That's what you're not looking at here. All right. And yes, allow yourself to be poured into, and that's by allowing yourself to focus on the things that actually fulfill you, the things that interest you, the things that feel good to you, the things that excite you. So move into this energy this week. It's an invitation. It's a different way to move forward, to actually, instead of trying to eject from your experience, go, okay, I'm going to go into the feeling nature of my experience. I'm going to sit in that water. I'm going to intuit things. I'm going to feel this out. I'm going to let myself cry. I'm going to take some spiritual cleansing baths. I'm going to do some release work. I'm going to go and spend some time by the water. I'm going to do a little reflection. I'm going to let myself get free of this a little bit. I'm going to nurture myself. I'm going to do what feels pleasurable. I'm going to watch some movies that just make me laugh, or, are nostalgic, or make me feel like that sweet space inside. My Girl coming in. I don't know. My Girl is a movie. Interesting. It's that energy. This is really going to open up your heart too. Some of you got you do have opportunities, this piece coming in. You do have romantic opportunities to advance that want to come in for you, but you're kind of guarded and shut down in your heart center too, because you're still you got emotional blockage. And it's what's actually getting in the way of you really making a heart connection. You're too guarded. So part of that is letting yourself cry. It is letting yourself get all that old energy out so you can close out this old cycle and move into the new. All right, we're going to do a cut of the deck energy here. And then I'm going to bring in the White Light Oracle card I got for this week for you all. Look, this brings victory, brings success, big phoenix energy, rising from the ashes, whatever, you're leaving behind. It's best left behind. Whatever you're cutting off, you're going to find so much release in doing it. It's like you've been hesitating on this, and it's like it's the thing that sets you free. It's the thing that elevates you. And look what you got here. 9 of Cups. Okay, so again, full on endorsement. This is about following the path of pleasure. The path of pleasure is what's going to give you purpose. When you connect with what feels good, it's the driving force in your life. Stop giving so much care, time, and attention to what doesn't feel good. And initially, is that going to be a challenge? Yeah, sure. It's become a crutch for you. It's become the little box you put everything in. It's your story. It's the story you like to tell everybody about how rough your life is, and this person did me wrong, and that person did me wrong, and this is what's not working for me, and everybody's got this so much. This is the box you put yourself in. It's your safe space. It's like your safety zone, but you don't realize how much it's limiting you, and it's keeping you from the very thing that will give you wish fulfillment, the very thing that will make you feel fulfilled. All right, so it's time to stop. It's time to start breaking out of the box and instead say, you know what? I'm really ready to experience something different. So I'm going to just go for what's pleasurable. I'm going to go for what feels good. And yeah, maybe this person upset me. That hurts. But, I could stuff it down with, a binge. But what's that really going to achieve? It may be desirable in the moment, but then my self-esteem's going to suffer. I'm going to be kicking myself. I'm going to be wishing I wouldn't have done that. I'm still going to feel crappy about what that person did. maybe I'm going to go for a walk instead. Or maybe instead I'm going to put on that music and I'm going to dance. Or maybe instead I'm going to go and take this art class. I've never done that before. That could be kind of fun. Let's see what happens. Or I'm going to go and get a massage. Or I'm going to treat myself to the movies. I'm going to go out and see whatever movie I want to see. Maybe I want to see a movie none of my other friends want to see. Well, I'm going to go and treat myself to the movies. You know what I'm saying? And then as you start to do these things, you start to pour into yourself. It shifts everything. And you're like, aha, now I'm connecting with my own feelings. Now I'm addressing my own needs. Wow, this is really empowering. I'm feeling good. And it has a bang on effect. And this is really going to lead you forward in an empowering way. I also feel like where things have been kind of rough. Yep. Yep. I also have to say where things have been feeling kind of rough for you or where you have been having a hard time, hold tight, all right? You do have some new beginning coming in for you. It is wish fulfillment. To the Ace of Pentacles, to the Nine of Cups, to the Six of Wands. This is like wish fulfillment, a new beginning. It's tangible, it's an opportunity, it's real, and it's something you can count on. And this is coming through for you, all right? But there's some piece about this to be ready to really receive this when it comes in. You first have to get yourself to a place where you're feeling your confidence again, all right? And you need to fill your own cup, all right? That's what's really going to allow you to fully receive this opportunity. I think it's an opportunity in love. I do feel like something's coming towards you, okay? But there's an important piece here, right? If you have codependent issues, if you've been struggling with this imbalance of power in your life, and even within your own like way you're approaching your emotions, where you're feeling really out of balance or whatever this may be, there's really a need for you to get to this place of kind of like personal self-satisfaction, understanding that happiness is an inside job and that, you're responsible for the type of experience that you have. You can't always just like put yourself in this mode where it's because of this person or that person. We all have our choices, all right? And yes, people can reveal themselves to be not in your corner, but they can only continue to treat you that way, disrespect you, use you, take advantage of you, whatever the situation may be, if you continue to participate. Okay, so this is about getting really clear about where you really want to experience growth in your life, where you're tired of investing your energy and doing that through starting to gravitate toward what actually gives you pleasure, what makes you feel good. And this is a big key for you. But there's some opportunity coming forward for you, but you got to get, you got to get more centered in yourself and cut some stuff off so you can really be ready to receive this. So I want to bring this piece in because I've been doing this each week, and I've been picking a white light oracle card to sort of symbolize the way forward. And I love it because I have these cards up on my Yule tree that I already have up because I'm really wanting to build the light early this year. But Wolf Totem is all about finding the path, finding the way forward. And that we find this way forward not through any kind of mental process, but it's totally led through instinct, more of a feeling nature. We're guided forward by what just feels right, what sits right in our gut, and so that's about finding that path of heart. Because when I think about instinct is the place where the intelligence, the wisdom, the lessons learned, the knowing merges with the intuition, and the bridge between the two of those is the heart. Okay, and that's what guides the way forward. So wolf medicine, very strong totem for the PANCHAKARMA experience we're moving through. And I got all those wolves, facing out. This is the cover art for the back side of the cards. And I picked the random card this week, and look what we got. We got Beta of Spirit Wolves. So this is very significant for this to come forward, because this means that you really do need to have this drop in time this week We do have the Mercury Cazimi coming in tomorrow. This is going to give you some kind of illumination. Look the way that crown, third eye chakras are like lit up. Okay, so you're going to get some inspiration coming in. You're going to have some downloads coming in. You're going to get some higher insight into your situation. Look at the way it lights up the heart too. Okay, it's whatever comes in this week. This could be also communication that comes in, but there's something about your self-reflection. I feel like it allows you to connect with your higher consciousness. And there's something that's going to be illuminated for you this week. It lands you in your heart. It gives you the way forward to move forward with passion and purpose. I love how there's like this cardinal piece here. Look at that. You see there's the 4 points. It's reminding me of the cardinal cross, okay? So I feel like you're moving out of the crossroads. There's something that's coming in, some communication. I feel it comes in spiritually and inspirationally, but I also feel like you might have a really important communication comes in this week, and it gets things moving forward. This might be sharing something from your heart. This might be with your support person. It might be with somebody who reaches out to you for support, or maybe you're actively engaged in a healing process with this person, or you've been at odds with each other. You're trying to find the way through to the heart. You're trying to find your way through the wood to the heart of the matter, okay? I think you're going to uncover that this week. But it first arrives through you dropping in with yourself and getting clear about something. Then something is ready to be communicated, and the path with heart opens up for you, all right? So there is a way forward. It comes through this week. It's going to come through by you paying attention, by you being mindful, by you noticing the synchronicities. And the way that you're able to do that and really get in touch with that higher wisdom and your own internal guidance, your own compass, okay? So you can be at the helm of your ship and you can steer that ship forward, is by really creating the space for that to come in, not distracting yourself, right? Giving yourself some time to just give yourself the self-care, to receive, to listen, okay, to feel, to just breathe, have the breathing room. But this is a beautiful confirmation, okay, that you're going to move forward, all right? Where you feel stuck right now, you're not going to stay stuck. So you might be dealing with some challenges at this point, but there's insight, there's illumination, there's guidance, and there's direction coming in, and an opportunity. I feel like an important communication is coming in for you, okay? And this lights the way forward. It creates a change in your life with that 23 energy. That's change. Something changes. It changes rapidly, all right? And there's connecting points with this. You're going to really see the way things are going to all kind of like fall in place. It's a connect the dots moment, and it brings everything synergistically together. That's what I got. So let's go ahead and read this here and see what she has to say about it. This beautiful art is by Alana Fairchild. I just want to bring that in. I always give my perception of the card and the artwork and the way it's speaking to me, because normally when I read, I never go by book definitions. I always just let the imagery inspire me. But because she put so much care and attention into this art, and she wrote up like a healing process for each card, I just really want the artist's words to sort of inform the meaning for you too. I think that's important, that the artist's voice and inspiration is recognized. Maybe there's some kind of art that's going to come through for you too this week. That's interesting. You might want to give some art some space and time and attention. Let your own art come forward. Do you know what your arts are? Everybody is artistic. Everybody is creative. Sometimes we don't think that we're creative, or we don't think that we are artists because maybe somebody shamed us in the past, or they didn't value our creative contribution. You're being asked to reclaim your artist. I like this. You're being asked to reclaim your artist. There's something to be discovered here. You might be inspired in this way creatively this week. There might be something coming through here for you. Art therapy is valuable, ma'am. And you don't have to see a therapist in order to experience the therapeutic benefit of art. You can really heal a lot just through getting in touch with your own creative energy. So maybe in creating yourself this space, allow yourself to explore your art a little bit, let it come forward. Okay, Beta of Spirit Wolf, give yourself enough rest. I love how it's right in harmony with this week's focus. Only then will you be able to ground yourself enough to cultivate focus and motivation to fulfill your path. It's everything we just talked about. You will find a way through any tricky situation as you tune into your instincts and trust your own timing. From times of change and uncertainty comes confidence, love, and resilience. Embrace transition. Commit to your tasks and stay focused, but be flexible in your approach. What a confirmation. You have the skill to intuitively handle any issue. Okay, Spirit Wolf skillfully guides us through transition and uncertainty. He enhances instinct, intuition, and presence so we can sense and avoid possible sabotage or traps and intelligently and safely find our way around them. Spirit Wolf tunes us into our instincts without creating paranoia or hyperarousal. This is the medicine of awareness and engagement that comes from tuning in without fear rather than from defensiveness, suspicion, or building walls against life. Where direct confrontation could stall a resolution or make matters worse, Spirit Wolf teaches us to soften our energy, appear less threatening. Oh my goodness. Woo! Hold on. Somebody's holding a lot inside about what they feel. Whatever situation you're dealing with, somebody's got a lot that they're holding inside that they're not communicating. And so you might be, I just want to interject at this point, you might be dealing with a situation where you really have set views and maybe you're feeling even angry or activated. You might be feeling hostile towards someone. And you may not be really truly understanding what sensitivity this person is holding inside, that they don't even feel safe bringing forward because they have such a firewall coming at them. It doesn't make it safe for them to even begin to open up the truth in their heart and to communicate with you. So this piece is wanting to come in, be mindful about this. You could feel this way too. This could be you on this side of the equation. You could feel like you have a lot of fire, a lot of intensity coming at you from other people, or that people are being aggressive with you or argumentative, and they may not understand just how sensitive of terrain you're navigating. You're going to have to feel out what side you're on with this. I feel like in some cases it might be working both ways. There's a lot of blockage coming in. As I'm talking about it, it's like I feel this pressure on the throat. It's wanting to like close down the throat. It's wanting to block the expression. Somebody's expression in this situation is totally blocked. Somebody in this situation feels like what they have to say doesn't matter. Nobody wants to hear it. Nobody cares about what they feel. Okay? It's coming through. I'm going to repeat this. Where direct confrontation could stall a resolution or make matters worse, Spirit Wolf teaches us to soften our energy, appear less threatening, and therefore minimize the chance of the other party reacting aggressively out of fear. This enhances the possibility of resolution. Spirit Wolf calls for lunar wisdom for honoring the non-rational knowing of intuition, for trusting our spiritual instincts, an inner sense of timing. He is the unconventional yet reliable pathfinder. He shows us how to be flexible while remaining connected to our higher purpose. Beta of Spirit Wolf brings the message that your resourcefulness and capacity to meet your needs is greater than you realize. We have it within us to engage all situations with courage and willingness. We will always find a way through. As Spirit Wolf thrives in cheerful, playful, social bonding with his tribe, there is also a reminder that connection is an essential ingredient in our approach to life. To thrive and have as much fun as intelligent, playful, successful, adaptable, and resourceful wolf, we need love in our lives. To experience love, we must be willing to reach out, open up, and run the risk of letting love in. So, again, that need for connection. Make contact, like stop holding everything inside. There is the need to reach out, as well as to share it unconditionally, okay, without thought for what we can get out of it, which would transform the beautiful gift of love into a manipulative tool of ego, all right? So there's that codependent theme, right? I give for what I can get out of it, or I give so I can have value in somebody's life. Oh yes, I'll take this on. I'll say yes to this, so you'll think I'm worth something, or so you'll be happy in this situation, or so you'll do something for me later. Okay, that's how we can make complicated arrangements in our connections. Beta brainwaves oscillate between 14 hertz and 40 hertz. It is the pattern of our waking state when our alertness and reasoning are heightened. If our beta waves become excessive, it can be challenging to transition into more relaxed states, and the result is increased stress. Stress is a significant problem for the human collective, and the negative impact on our health and our planet is considerable. It is easier for a relaxed mind to access clarity and inspiration. Beta waves are stimulating, and while heightened arousal is beneficial in small doses at appropriate times, if this becomes our dominant way of being, our stress levels will compromise our well-being and our wisdom. The excess of anxiety-related disorders affecting humanity at this time is one symptom of beta brain waves in overdrive. Beta helps us get things done, but imbalanced, it disconnects us from the nourishing sacred feminine presence within the heart that generates contentment. Beta excess is progress at any cost. Beta deficiency results in lack of focus and inattentive to what is happening. So problems are not readily solved. All right, that's when we stay in that stagnation, when we're not willing to pay attention to what really is happening, what we're really feeling, when we're hitting the eject button. So it's very interesting because this is totally a review of everything we just covered that's coming in with this card. Spirit Wolf brings a healing recalibration of our beta waves so we can avoid depression and feel motivated, yet also know when to step back and reconnect to the slower healing rhythms of the heart and soul. So again, it's about finding that inner sense of modulation, finding the balance by listening to our bodies and listening to our feelings, what we're feeling our way through, being guided by the instincts, by the energy. Is the energy feeling good? Is it feeling off? When is it enough? When is it too much? When is it not enough? You can only feel this stuff out. This is nothing you can think about. You can't rationalize this. You can't stay on the set plan. So we know that balance is through bringing more of this forward, really feeling your way through. So this week creates a wonderful time, opportunity, and facilitation of that process, okay? So this is what's coming through as a healing process, and it looks like it's not a meditation this week, and I like this because it gets things moving, all right? So I'm going to go ahead and give you this healing process, and this is something that you can include maybe on your self-care day, wherever you choose to put that this week, where you're just going to give yourself a full day of self-care, give your body some time and attention, and do what feels right for you. It says, give yourself a refreshing, invigorating body rub. Perhaps start at your scalp by rubbing your head in a way that alleviates tension, but is also slightly stimulating. We talked about this when you are worried or stressed, that You know, you can just take your fingertips and vigorously rub your scalp. And what this does is it allows the trapped fire that's causing frustration or agitation inside to come out the crown. It's really relieving. It also will give your hair volume. It is good and conditioning for the scalp, okay? And it does support the health of the hair as well. So it not only does it clear your head and get the energy moving and alleviate stress, but it also, you know, it's beneficial for your crowning glory, okay? So she says here, perhaps start at your scalp by rubbing your head in a way that alleviates tension, but is also slightly stimulating. You might like to put slight pressure. Ted agrees with that. Ted likes this method. Ted likes to get these scritches, huh? That feels good. You want some scritches? Okay, Ted. Ooh. Yeah, nice, huh? You like the scritches? It feels good. A little scalp rub. He's so funny. Okay, so Ted endorses this. He loves getting that little vigorous, you know, little scrubbing action going on. Okay, it says you may like to put slight pressure on the top of your head, the base of your skull where it meets the neck, and also behind the ears, down the jaw. Okay, this is actually an energy hold. Okay, and it can be very balancing to have one hand on top of the head and then right at the base of your skull. Okay, they call this region the suboccipitals. Okay, it's sort of where you got this, like, you can feel there's like this padding of muscle, it feels like here. Okay, you can do this, and it's actually it's a cranial sacral hold. It's like an energy lock, okay? And this is a way you can really kind of like come into your own energy, and you can focus on breathing and almost like breathing into your hands. But this is a very centering hold, and it's just with a slight pressure. You'd be amazed how much this can balance things out. You can also do it on the front too. This is another cranial sacral hold you can do, okay? Keeping your other hand on those suboccipitals, right? So they're bringing this in as well. I mean, I already feel like, woo, just those two things that we did, I already feel a shift in my energy up here in the upper channels. So you might want to try it out. It's very beneficial, okay? And then when we're looking at behind the ears, down the jaw, all right, that is working within that's working within, like, this is where your warrior lymph is, okay, right in here. So you can kind of just do a little stimulation, you know, just sort of rub behind the ears here, all right? And then you can run it down, just run it down. That can like drain a lot of congestion and tension. So if you deal with like a TMJ, if you're somebody who like grinds your teeth, or you find you're clenching your teeth a lot, you can do this. You can even go right here, you know, right, that place where the jaw meets, just to relieve that tension. Just massage with your fingers, and then you can take it up around behind the ears, okay, and massage behind the ears, and then down here, and that can really like clear out a lot of energy. It also moves the lymph, and it can be very beneficial for relieving tension. So look at all this right there, okay? This is something you can totally do sitting down. I'm going to walk you through this because it's like body work that's being brought in here. So this is something that you can do when you're feeling really stressed or overwhelmed. It might be something you want to add into your day, maybe to start your day or to close your day. So you can begin with this, you know, just giving yourself a good, you know, vigorous like scalp massage here. I would start with the head first. Let everything start with the head before you do any kind of, because you can do friction on your body too, which is abhyanga. Okay, I would use oil for this because you can give yourself a vigorous abhyanga. It doesn't have to be slow. All right, you can still have oil on, but give yourself more of a Garshana type of experience. Garshana is a type of lymphatic stimulation massage that's done with silk gloves, but it's not the right time of year for Garshana. That's normally good for kapha imbalance, and it's good during kapha season. Not right now. It's too dry, and it'll be too stimulating for vata, so it can produce imbalance. We don't want that right now. But you can do that kind of Garshana stimulation with oil. My goodness. I got a lot of dry going on. I'm needing to really get the oils in myself. I'm noticing just from all the talking that my vocal cords are really dry right now. I might need to gargle some ghee. I find that helps when my vocal cords are strained. One second, I need a little water too. My goodness. Okay. Make sure you're hydrated. That's also important for Vata too, making sure you're getting the hydration, the oils. But I digress. You can give yourself a stimulating Garshana style massage, which is friction, okay? If you use oil. So you can use oil and do a vigorous like Garshan like this, or you could do a salt scrub as well. I don't think sugar scrubs are ever a good way to go. It's just not. Like your skin, you know, it's able to absorb things. And sugar on the skin, like you're just like encouraging yeast overgrowth. That's not a good idea. So I know some people like sugar body scrubs, but I wouldn't do sugar. I would do a salt scrub, okay? You can make a simple salt scrub at home just by adding sea salt to any kind of oil base you want. I wouldn't use coconut oil just because of the time of year. It's more cooling oil, but you could use sesame oil. You could use almond oil, olive oil. I love kukui nut oil or macadamia oil. It's really like Lux. Alba Botanica makes a body massage oil, and it's got kukui nut oil, macadamia oil in it. Oh, it's just so rich. It feels so good on the skin. But anything like that, okay? And just mix it in with enough sea salt to make like a paste. And that would work too. It would give the friction, okay? So that's the way you could do this for the whole body. You could do a salt scrub. And you can work with that stimulation. And that's really good if you feel like you got areas of congestion or circulation issues in your body. Or maybe you do, you know, have some heaviness, you know, some excess kapha that you need to move, and you are on a weight release journey. This is something you can do. You know, it helps move your lymph, it helps clear out blockages, it also gets the emotions flowing and stimulating, okay? But it's got the oil, so it keeps Vata happy, and we need to do that. You could also just do it straight up oil and just do a more vigorous, you know, really moving at a faster clip and more vigorous kind of massage. And that's another way to do that friction. Still building the heat, but not dry. So it's not aggravating for Vata, okay? And then you could start with that, you know, doing the scalp, okay? So you're giving a good like scrub here. So you begin here first, right? And then after you do your scalp rub here and you get this all stimulated and get everything coming out of the head. And by the way, you can put oil on your scalp too when you do this, all right? Then you can go down and you can do like a salt scrub or an abhyanga, more vigorous. If you do a salt scrub, you can do it just standing in a shower stall. Do it on dry skin. Okay, that's really the best way to do it. It gets the most stimulation going. People are used to doing it with water, but it's actually doing it on dry skin is the best way to go. It's what really builds the heat and gets things moving, and just all the way down to the bottom of your feet. And then you can rinse off the salt scrub, okay? But you can still keep this oil on your head for a little bit if you want, or you can shower it off, you know, your choice, whatever you do. But then after you do all this stimulation, then you can do, you know, a little bit more of that kind of calming sort of massage and lymphatic clearing to just sort of help things along. So then you can do your hold where you put one hand on top of your head on the crown and the other at the base of the skull on the suboccipitals. And then maybe experiment with also doing this hold too, just coming into center. And if you've been stressed out and if you found yourself like wanting to have a lot of like dry, crunchy snacks like chips, crackers, rice cakes, things like that, popcorn, you probably are stressed. You probably have some level of anxiety. Okay, so you want to just get in here, maybe just do a little massage, right? That TMJ, okay, just to release some of the tension in the jaw and bring it up and back, okay, around the ears, down, massage behind the ears, little circles, okay, whatever pressure feels comfortable for you, and then just allow it to come down the sides here. This is your warrior lymph. You could even, after you get done, like doing the holds, okay, back here on those suboccipitals where you were resting your hand, you can massage back here too. It feels really good. It releases a lot of tension, and it also encourages flow of the lymph system, which can do wonders for helping you get out of brain loops and just sort of like really clear the head. It's excellent. It's stress relieving. And you also have very important warrior lymph back here. And then you can carry that down through here too. Okay, so both of those are areas you can release. All right, let's see. Okay, and then it's going into further directive on how you can take care of the rest of your body. It says then rub your shoulders, especially where the neck and shoulders meet. Okay, so that's here. It's in this spot right here. You can feel it's right, this like little muscle area. It's called the scalenes, these muscles that are right above that clavicle bone, okay, or collarbone, right? You can get in there and you can just squeeze it and release it, squeeze it, release it. This releases so much tension, just squeezing and releasing this. It's just right here. Okay, so how can we show this to you? Massage, self-massage instruction. This is valuable though, okay? So let me see. Okay, see it's like right here, okay? Here's my collarbone, okay? So you go right here, this muscle right here, it's at the top, at the trapezius, okay? And you just take your hand and you just grab it and you just squeeze and release. That's all you need to do for about 60 seconds. It will get rid of so much neck and shoulder tension. It's unbelievable. It'll be tender in there when you squeeze it. You'll see. Okay, it's huge storehouse of tension, energy. It's also very important for the lymph, and it's another channel because you can go straight down from here when you're done. And you can just do feather light, and that releases your main lymph channel. So you move all this lymph from here down, right? It's very effective. This can make a huge difference in how you feel, I'm telling you. Okay, rub your shoulders, especially where neck and shoulders meet. I'm telling you, the squeezing is the best way to do it for self massage. You know, if you don't have a therapist that can work on you, it's the best way to go about it. And then it says, you may then like to make fists and lightly pummel or briskly rub your lower back and hips, which that can be very helpful. This is why you want the oil, okay? And that's just easy, you know, you just go down, you know, your back when you're using, you know, you're using your fists just to give a little added pressure. You can kind of do circles on your lower back, right over your sacrum, just kind of loosen things up. It allows you to get a little bit more pressure in on yourself if you're giving yourself self-massage. And you can do circles, you know, over your lower back, leading up, you know, to the mid back at that place on the side where the psoas meets, you know, wraps around into the front body. That can really loosen things up. Very helpful. Not everybody likes tapotement. They're saying pummel. They're talking about this. Okay. You can do it just with, you know, the palm of your hands. You can also do it with just your fingertips. Some people really enjoy it. Some people hate it. All right. So it's all about, again, what feels good to you. Right? These are different ways you can stimulate. It says, if you wish, you can continue with this motion down the length of each leg and the soles of the feet. Okay, I wouldn't do that. You could do the tap pumpment if you wanted, down the legs and on the bottom of the feet. I mean, that is helpful. It can ground you out, especially if you feel like you have a tendency toward disassociation and you need to like come into your body like right now. That can be super helpful if you do this and kind of like wake up the lower extremities, you know, with a little patting. It can bring you back in your body. But I would do this like kind of friction, you know, motion. You can even like ring the thighs, you know what I'm saying? You can ring the thighs, one hand over, one hand under, and ring the thighs out. So good. And then follow it with like long strokes down, circular over your knees, circular over the ankles, okay? And that's a good way to do an Abhyanga in general, but you're just doing it with a little bit more intention, you know? You're building some heat by more of these kind of like friction kind of motions that actually warm up the palms and really get the blood moving, you know, and get the lymph moving. Everything just gets kind of like liquidy. It feels really good. And when you do it with oil, it feels really good. But if you wanted to, you know, if you wanted to do some detail work, maybe down your IT band, you could do that. Pretend this is an IT band, okay? The outside of your upper thigh. Yikes. It's very good. It's really sensitive, right? But you could do this, okay, if you wanted to. Or you could even use your, you know, fist to do that kind of like friction motion and to go around, you know, your knees and such, okay? Just make sure you have oil on your body to do this. Make sure you have oil on your body. That's how it'll be really beneficial for Vata. All right. And then it says, when you have completed this self-massage, take some slow, deep breaths and give yourself a chance to ground with gentle, playful movements. Perhaps a few star jumps or even a quick jog on the spot, depending on what feels good. Okay, I love that she said this. I love that she said this. So maybe this is kind of like it's interesting because we're supposed to focus on that this week, like giving to our bodies. Also, the Dinacharya is something that's been a focus of the Panchakarma. So maybe this is like a little mini practice. You know, you can decide, do you want this at the beginning of your day, the end of your day, both? You know, it could be a really good way to just sort of like clear out the energy, get centered. I'm really liking how this is coming in, okay? Star jumps, I assume those are like jumping jacks. Okay, and then it says, she says, then say aloud, okay, which you can say this in your own words, whatever statement you want. But she says, I have it within me to accomplish my soulful tasks with focus and effectiveness. I trust myself to find my way according to my own heart wisdom and with the strength of spirit that keeps me motivated to continue on my path while also meeting my needs for rest and replenishment. I would say you should say whatever prayer comes from your heart that day, whatever you need, whatever's your focus, whatever you need to remind yourself of that day should come forward, you know. This could be a really good practice. I like it. It's very simple, includes a little exercise, includes a little self-massage, a little clearing of the energy, a little focus, a little intention. This would be great for starting the day with, okay? So at least to let yourself experiment with it this week, maybe on the day that you're dropping in for your full day self-care. It could be great. And then she says, recognize that you are a creative powerhouse who refuses to be obstructed on your path. Own your determined wolf-like badassery. You have completed your healing process. So I think this is really nice. That was unexpected. I was not expecting that, but I actually like that practice. I like this all kind of paired together like that. I think that I'm gonna try starting my day like this. I think it's a good place to start. You know, it brings all the pieces together, gives a little body self-care, you know, touching in with your energy, making contact with your body, doing whatever kind of exercise feels good. Yeah, I like it. Setting an intention for the day, making contact with your spirit or higher consciousness, And yet it's something that can be done fairly quickly too. Like you could do a whole routine within 15 minutes. You know, you could do the whole, body abhyanga, all that. You could have that done in 5 minutes, and then you could set your intention and get your exercise in with 10 minutes if you needed to. If it was really, you were really in a pinch. And then if you wanted to and you had more time, and you're like, no, I really want to drop in and luxuriate. Well, you can give yourself as much time as you want, you know. You could add gua sha to that body routine, you could add a face mask. You could, exercise for a longer period of time. You could drop in and do some meditation, do some kirtan. There's no limit to how much you could extend that. But just as a quick, get it done practice, that could be very, very valuable. I like that. I like it a lot. So maybe that's a good place to start. If that's something that's a challenge for you, it would be a good place to start with this simple, small practice. And I feel like this is complete. This feels really complete for today. And I don't know. I'm almost wondering if I should share this on Broad Coven as well. It feels like it could have value, or at least parts of it. Maybe this part with the White Light Oracle, I'll feel that out. But I'll put the song list for you all, so you can maybe use that. Maybe you'll put on that music and give yourself this treatment. Get in a little dancing, a little exercise. Oh, I like it. Kind of ties it all together, But thank you to those of you who dropped by and said hello. Thank you, Jessa, for bringing your voice in. And thank you to all of you who will drop in for the replay. Got my hair everywhere. And I look forward to hearing more from you about your experiences. And I hope you have a wonderful week of just opening yourself to this self-care and letting yourself receive. It looks like there's going to be something that really comes forward that illuminates things for you and sets you off on a whole new direction. And I think that's a very positive thing. And have an absolutely beautiful day. I'll be back again next week on Thursday with another live for you all. And we're heading in the home stretch now. So we're on week 3. So after this week, we'll have 2 more lives. No, 3 more lives. 3 more lives. We'll have 3 more lives. Okay. So we're at the halfway point right now. So I'll be back next Thursday for week 4's live. All right. Take care. And again, if you need those courses, you can find them at cobrasmedicinebag.com. They're completely free. And both of them, Grace and Crisis and Roots with Wings, are accessible from the homepage there. All you have to do is click the free access button and you're in. All right. Have a beautiful day. I'll see you next week.